From beyond the farthest reaches of our galaxy they come. Two brains pulsing with a strange energy. These space brains come to share their love of science fiction movies.
Hi, and welcome to Space Brains, the show where we joy-watch sci-fi movies and then talk about what was good and what was great. I'm Surrey, and this is Mark.
Hiya, tonight it's episode 50!
Party!
Party time! So, we are talking about an all-time classic, The Matrix. It was made and distributed in 1999.
We can't tell you what The Matrix is.
No, we can't.
You have to experience.
For yourself. It was written and directed by the Wachowskis.
Wachow. Yes, the Wachowskis. I know, whenever it's Wachowskis, I always think Wachow.
Wachow.
Like,
fair enough.
Martial arts maneuvers, I suppose.
Okay.
It's a shame that they don't do that themselves when they go on stage to introduce stuff. They just sort of come cartwheeling out.
That's right.
Okay, so turn back now if you have not seen this movie.
Why have you not seen it?
Why have you not? If you have not seen it, go back and watch it twice. Yeah. It's worth doing it. Because we are going to spoil a living crud out of this. And
totally.
You don't want to be spoiled about this movie, so seriously, go back and watch it. And then tune back in and then hear us fanboy ourselves to death over it.
Definitely. This is a big one, The Matrix. So what is a little brief starting point of The Matrix? Well, we have this character called Neo. He's a computer hacker in 1990, and he gets shown the truth of our reality. And in fact, our reality in The Matrix is a computer simulation. And then he must decide whether he should stay and believe in himself to overcome this controlling artificial intelligence, or return to the blissful ignorance of the Matrix. Or our reality. This is a film that will do your noodle in the first time you see it.
Yes, in a good way.
Yeah, in a very good way.
But the thing that's going to really do your noodle is, would it do your noodle if I hadn't said it was going to do your noodle?
Yeah, that's exactly right. We could be ruining it, but hopefully they've gone and watched it twice by now, sorry.
Twice.
Yeah, so the action has already happened, which we created that action because we told them to go watch it in the first place.
Yes, and they're de-noodled.
They de-noodled it. They did.
There is no noodle.
Sorry, wake up!
Ah!
What is the number one takeaway from The Matrix?
Number one takeaway from this Matrix is clicking, sliding phones are so cool.
They're awesome.
I remember watching this the first time and schlick, out clicks the phone. I was like, that's just so cool.
Sweet.
Of course, we've got smartphones and everything coming along, and I watched it the other day.
Yeah.
It's still so cool to have a phone that clicks. I would definitely have that. Because nowadays you see people, they sort of flick with their finger dragged on the screen and they hold it up to their head and they go, hello, hello, and they pick it up and they look again to see if it's ringing or something. This thing, it's like a weapon.
It is like a weapon, yeah.
And off they go.
I agree. They come across so cool in this film. However, didn't that sort of style of phone die out because those little hinges kept breaking and not quite lasting as long? Wasn't it that one of those things?
Yeah.
Like you remember these different... I remember I had the flick phone. It was just like a hinge. And that was the thing. That was the first thing that went on the phone was that hinge, you know? And I'm pretty sure that these sort of style phones that slid out or slid in or whatever you want to say, very quickly, it was that bit that broke.
Well, they'd get a bit of sand or dust on it because you keep it in your pocket, don't you?
Yeah.
And so you get some sort of crud in there and it doesn't properly
quite
come out, and then you can't use it. And they never really took off, and it wasn't too long after 99 that we started to see larger screen phones.
Yeah, we start heading into the bigger phone.
The full-on smartphone. So I remember I had an HTC, which was maybe 3/4 phone screen
Yep.
with some buttons down the bottom.
Yep.
And the style was definitely going to more screen.
Yeah. Well,
so there was a brief period there where it was cool to have this phone.
Yeah.
But watching it now, I reckon it would still be a pretty cool phone to have. Like,
Yeah, it'd be cool.
if you get a phone call on the train, you
And
pull
you
it,
just-
and you pull it out and you and answer it. Come on.
Yeah, it looked good.
You're-
I think the iPhone just annihilated these types of phones, didn't
It's
it?
it's far
that's what
more
it just did.
far more usable.
Yeah. I have played this movie in my teacher role to my students over a few years, and a big comment from students quite often, because we're talking from after the year 2006, so even by 2006, phones like this have gone, and quite often, like, you know, the 18, 19-year-olds will be like, what the hell was the deal with those phones? They were so weird. That would be, you'd be like, what's your number one takeaway from The Matrix? And they'd be like, the phones are lame. They're not like iPhones, or they're not like, you know, whatever is going on at the time. Yeah.
Well, I remember
So-
the first time I watched this, and
Yeah.
they flicked these phones. It was just like it's weird
Yeah.
because why do you? It makes a lot of sense from a storytelling, and this is something
But it's
I've
a
really
visual
noticed.
effect, right? It's
is-
like, it's very visceral.
Yeah, it's how do you make receiving a phone call visual?
Cool, yeah.
Because, you know, what they do these days now, of course, they have the phone vibrate very violently. Like if it's
Yeah.
on a table,
Yeah.
it doesn't just flash, it
Yep.
it rattles around and moves, and the light is really bright.
And we're even getting now, I just watched a TV show that did it where, and I've seen a couple other ones, but this TV show I watched recently, there's teenagers in it, is a big bunch of the main characters, and we got their texts coming on the screen, you know, the bubbles.
Yes.
And I mean, I've seen that a bit, but this particular TV show, they really did it a lot. But in the show I watched recently, they did it in quite a smooth way. It wasn't too clunky. And they were also messaging things that they weren't saying out loud. So it kind of, because I've seen that as well over the years with phones where people were like, Surrey, let's meet tonight to do a podcast. Oh, I'll put that in a text.
Yes.
And then it even writes it on screen. You're like, why have they just... Whereas this show did it a bit more like how teenagers do. They send each other all these messages and other things are going on, you know, so they made it a bit more smooth. But it is funny to think about the phones in this film.
I love the phones, and I've noticed a lot in movies where you need to put actions to things. That's why smoking is still so
Yeah.
common.
Yeah.
It's less
Or
common
drinking,
than it used to be.
like drinking a wine or something.
Eating, I watched the Vikings movie TV series. And if you haven't seen it, it's very cool. It's not science fiction.
No, it's not.
history.
It's history.
Well,
A
fictional history.
A fantastical version of history.
but the amazing thing that happens is in a number of times that they have these conversations or confrontations while they're eating, and they're
Yeah.
like, there's always someone's holding something nondescript. You don't know what it is. They're holding it in their hand, and they sort of put it in their mouth and like tear off a little bit of it.
Yeah.
Like it could be paper or like jerky maybe. I don't know what it is. You can't see it. It may not actually have anything in their hand.
Yeah.
It might just be, you know, they put their hand up to their mouth and kind of and tear off a bit, and then they munch on it and then talk and move around, and it's a bit uncanny how many times they can be doing that.
Yes.
Or drinking mead from a horn or something.
Yeah, yeah.
So that you've got a bit of action going on there.
Yeah, I was just watching that. It's a fantasy show, Discovery of Witches, based on a book. And like all the creatures are always really drinking something. That's what I really noticed in this season 2 of that. So the vampires have always got like a glass of red wine. Like they just always do. But they're very different glasses. It really stood out to me. Like the wine glass was extremely different. And then like the witches are like drinking scotch and stuff like that. Like they've always got that, you know, like they've just got a glass there, or so if they're sitting at a desk, the glass is there, you know, and they might start yelling at someone and then they take a sip and then they throw the glass. So I think it's just a really clever, dramatic visual tool, isn't it?
Yeah,
and
so-
the Matrix does that with phones.
Phones is it, and that's because it's that's part of the theme is this network, this communication.
It's a way to communicate, right? And also transport ourselves.
Yeah, it's wonderful use of these topics. In fact, it was on this viewing because I haven't watched this movie for many years. I watched it several times back in the early noughties, but then it's got to be 15 years or more
Sorry,
since I've seen it. So I was watching it now coming from, having matured my tastes, shall we say. But, particularly coming from Space Brains, where we're doing this joy watching, where we're also being a little bit analytical about what is it that's good.
Yeah.
And I watched The Matrix and went, geez, those Wachowskis, they have cracked it with The Matrix. I've seen some of the other films, and they're good, like Cloud Atlas I enjoyed, and the things, but The Matrix is, and I'll go into more of these things as we go through recount the story. It just absolutely nails so many bits and pieces.
But isn't the irony of the phones, like going back to what my students were saying, like, it feels like they're dated. Like, films sometimes they feel dated and stuff. But the irony of this film is that that's also part of the actual story. Because we're set...
Brilliant.
We're set in the 90s, and that's the actual story. But it could have come out in 2020. Because it could be 2020 for the characters. So when you start actually thinking about this again, where you do your schnoodling, it's like, because the film itself, the story in the film, they are set in the 90s because that's where the Matrix is running its program. So it's like a computer game.
The Matrix just runs around.
So they have to have flip phones. They have to have phones and old cars and stuff because that's when the program's running. It's brilliant. It's so clever.
It was a good idea there because the film was released in 99. It was filmed through the 90s, 97, 98. Obviously this was not a quick film to do.
No, it was a big film.
But I think it was very wise to mention that specifically, as you said, the Matrix is running its program as 1990.
Never ages,
for you, this is 1990, but in reality, it's well past the year 3000. I can't remember what year he says it's after, but it's he says
hundreds of years.
It's at least hundreds of years after that, and it's unimportant exactly how far into the future it is. And because they set it prior to when the film was released, even if that phone, which was only briefly released, and I think it was sort of not widely distributed or used, even though it was so cool. It's cool because you watch it in year 2000, and that phone never really took off.
No.
Well, that's okay because The Matrix is specifically set before the film was released, even.
Yeah.
So they sort of a get out of jail card, free card, and they don't have to be particularly, chronologically accurate.
No.
Like if you set a film in the 50s. You've got to be careful because someone plays a bit of music on a radio. You better make sure that song came out then or earlier, and was actually played on the radio.
Yeah,
because there are plenty of songs that we listen to from the 50s, for example, which never got a radio release. But they didn't have to because they were just right there. And a few years early, sometimes people do it. They get set in the near future, So it's kind of pretty neat. But the problem with that, of course, is in 20 years' time, you come back and watch it and you go, that
never happened.
That's not really very near future at all. We're more advanced than that, and we always have been. But not in this one. But let's move on then. Hope, warning, or experiment.
Well, my question back is this all three? Because this film really blows my mind, this story. And it's a hard one to think of because is it ultimately a story that humans, we have hope? Is it a warning, like as in we're a bit unsure what's about to, happen because of, in this example, AIs have taken over and blocked the sun and all this sort of stuff? Or is it just an experiment, like a what if, which it could be? So to me, this is a really tough one. It's interesting timing this for 1999 because we were heading to the Y2K fear. The Y2K, if you're anyone that's kind of young, goes, what the hell is that? Y2K basically was suggesting that when we hit New Year's Eve or brand new day, 1st of January 2000, that the whole computer system would be corrupt and break down just because someone never coded in the date properly, right? And so the clocks would tick over and computers wouldn't know what to do and bank vaults would open and airplanes would fall out of the sky and all that. And I think this
dogs and cats living together, rivers of blood. Real end of time stuff.
Real end of time stuff. So
what movie is that from?
Oh,
Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters, yeah. Yes. I was just going to say, yeah, okay. But yeah, so it's an interesting one because this film touches on what was happening when they were making and when they came up with this story in the mid-90s to late 90s, this fear of the Y2K getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And then this film deals with that, like what if artificial intelligence took over? And it also suggests that mankind is really to blame because we just bombed the shit out of the robots, but they were smarter than us. So, it does my head in, this film. And then it's a film that when you really start to break down some of the conversations, some of the points of the scenes, the themes of the film, it deals with religion. At the same time, it deals with like yourself and self-belief.
Free choice.
And free choice and, believing in yourself. But then at the same time, it's also like technology versus man. And then it also does question what we were joking about before about would you do something if you knew you knew that would be the end result, or do you do it because someone says you should go do it?
Yeah.
Oh God, like it really is an awesome film, this one. So is it a hope warning experiment? I don't know. Is this the first film that encompasses all three? Sorry.
It certainly has strong parts of each. It's got a very strong philosophical side to it, which is what makes it murky in this aspect. And I love this film for that.
Yeah.
Because it's an action film. It's a bit of a suspense thriller film.
Yeah. It's got big fun scenes in it.
But it's got this chock with philosophy in it. Often you'll get a science fiction film that has these deep philosophical questions. Tends to be quite slow and moving, like Interstellar. It had a couple fast bits, but it was still a very slow rolling film that kind of went out. And you go back 2001, A Space Odyssey addresses a few sort of questions about origins and evolution and artificial intelligence and time and who we are and where we're going. But again, it's quite admittedly a very boring film in many respects. From the point of view that you can get lost into it and marvel at its excellence.
Yeah,
it's wonderful, but the Matrix has this heavy philosophical overtones. What is reality? Do we really have free choice? Are we living in a simulation? All of these things, as you said, is there a God or spirits, or are we on our own, or what have you?
Yeah, robots running the day.
Robots, artificial intelligence, but it maintains itself as a fast-paced action thriller.
Yeah.
So you could watch this and not give a rat's ass about any of that heavy stuff.
Yep.
And just go, wow, isn't Trinity's kick at the start so cool?
Yeah.
Which, and okay, I'm going to have to confess here that there's going to be a lot of people who have watched it, say, in the past 10 years.
Yep.
And it will seem a little bit, passé.
Yeah.
A bit old-fashioned. But the problem is, this is one of those things, it's like listening to the Beatles and going, oh, this is that kind of, it's a little bit old-fashioned. It sounds a bit like, Blur or something.
Yeah.
Oasis. And they're so
sort
old.
Of pop rock,
Yeah, like, it's sort of old. But you go, no. The Matrix is what made itself look old-fashioned, if you will.
Yeah.
Pre The Matrix, action movies and science fiction movies were like such different creatures. You look at Predator, you look at RoboCop, Starship Troopers was 97, Demolition Man,
yeah.
They were all the action science fiction films. And then even if you were to look at things like Star Wars and stuff.
Yeah.
But that's the way Hollywood did action films, in particular science fiction and so forth. Then along came The Matrix, and you had this, bullet times, stop motion, camera rotates around Trinity, and then she, launched into action. Yeah. They're wearing sleek black outfits, and they're doing incredible kung fu moves. So they're pulling a Hong Kong choreography into Hollywood action properly, not just kind of mocking it. Like it's really, they've got the anime sort of slow motion cuts, reflected glasses, reflections of everything, God damn it.
Lots of reflections.
And all of that sort of style, and that became the standard. And I can think of a few films off my head now which are just kind of directly out of it. Remember that Hansel and Gretel film, Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of less cheesy ones, but they're all because of the Matrix.
Yeah. Well, especially when you say action, I know we're dealing with science fiction, but after The Matrix, Hollywood action, I mean, they took on this. Yes, there was martial art films in Hollywood before this, like Jean-Claude Van Damme, Bruce Willis films, that Chuck Norris films, all of those kind of ones were. But you ended up having big explosions and bombs, and all of that kind of was the day. In Hollywood, quite often, like in martial art action films, there would be a bit of a ratio, I think, with martial arts versus explosions.
Yes.
And big fight scenes. But then this particular, after The Matrix, actions became more of this, having this hero that was like a martial art expert, weapons expert, and trying to mix them all together. And I mean, that bullet time effect, I mean, after The Matrix and the success of it, I mean, it was in pretty much any action film, any comedy film. They used it a lot.
Gora.
Yeah, and kid films and animation films, they just were like, because it was these guys, the Wachowskis and their cinematographer, they invented that in this film. Like, it hadn't been, they just used camera technology. It wasn't, they didn't use anything that wasn't at anyone's fingertips, but they must have just thought this is such a great way of doing it. And they did. They came up with this bullet time effect where you set up a whole bunch of cameras in a circle of motion. They all fire at once. And then in the edit room, you piece them together and you get the old, it's almost what they used to call the old zoetrope, which is that spinning wheel with a bunch of pictures on it, and you get the illusion of motion.
Yes.
So they did. They took animation in a way and brought it onto the visual film scene, and every other film then copied it for 10 years. And you're exactly right. Once you get to kind of 2010 or 2012 or something, then it's like Hollywood's like, oh, we're done with that. We've done that a lot, haven't we?
Yeah,
and audiences are.
Everything did it. It's like, I guess 2001 was another film that introduced a lot of really big concepts and all the rest of it, but also this technology, this rear projection, which was used all the way up until the 90s.
Yeah, yeah.
And all the space scenes, and Star Wars introduced the computer-controlled tracking cameras, so they could produce, do matting of space fights.
Yep.
And then that was the way to do it. Suddenly you got dogfights and other
And
films.
Jurassic Park was another one that kind of was the first one that brought across that computer simulation, which was the T-Rex, and mixing that with then animatronics. So kind of doing computer and visual
and trying to make
and,
it realistic.
Yeah.
I remember Who Framed Roger Rabbit was like hailed as an amazing thing where they did this sort of computer insertion of characters, but they were cartoon characters.
Yeah.
So that they didn't have to be terribly realistic.
Yeah.
But Jurassic Park was like these are realistic.
Yeah, these are supposed to be in the
dinosaurs in there.
Yeah.
And I mean, looking back at Jurassic Park, I watched it not long ago because my son is 8 and therefore into dinosaurs. Yeah. I am 45 and also therefore into dinosaurs. I don't know that it goes away.
No.
But my daughter's 9. She's not as into dinosaurs, but she still loves dinosaurs. Yeah. So we watch it a fair bit. And now you sort of look at it and you can see the textures on the skins shifting and a little bit of wobbling, and you sort of go, my computer games do it better now in real time. But back in the day, back in 93, 97, 94?
No, it's like 93, 94.
I think it's 93, 94. Yeah, it was just mind-blowing.
Yeah.
And likewise, The Matrix then introduced all of that slick action. You think of the X-Men, that's another one where they're wearing any of these action films where they're wearing these slick, costumes and doing cool moves with sudden slowdowns and then sudden speed ups and unusual angles and splashing water, and that's all comes out of this. Although to be fair, the Wachowskis took a lot of that from Japanese anime,
of course,
Hong Kong cinema. You look at what's his name? He did Mission Impossible 3 director?
John Woo.
Yeah. John Woo is famous for the doves flying off. But the slow motion rotating two guns, a flash of something or other, it's this tapestry being woven before your eyes in slow motion and then suddenly going fast. Yeah. He was doing that in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
I've watched a lot of Hong Kong martial arts films. It was free to air on when I was at uni, so that's what I did. And Yeah, but they put it all together in this Hollywood package.
Yeah.
And since then, everyone jumped onto it, and there's still reverberations of that in today's films. I'm trying to think of the most recent film that I have seen in the cinemas. Occupation Rainfall. That had elements.
It did.
Inspired by Matrix type composition of scene.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, the Wachowskis didn't. They definitely pulled in. I mean, even when we watched Gantz Zero, you could see how that kind of anime style. That's the Matrix style, right? It's not like they invented that style, but it's just bringing it into the Hollywood mainstream audience.
Yeah, and mixing it with the Hollywood,
and then mixing in
machismo.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and then mixing in these other interesting elements. And that's the thing with the Matrix, and why it deserves to be our episode 50, is that it's just so rich on so many levels. The story hits the mark, and we'll go to that in a little while. The visual style of it was something that, especially in 1990 time, mainstream Hollywood audiences hadn't seen. And then you couple in this kind of deep thinking, which I totally agree. You can be, and I think this is why it makes it probably a perfect Hollywood film, is that regular Joe could go and sit down with a box of popcorn and go, oh, yeah, dude, Neo, he's a hacker, and he gets shown this world. He has to believe that he's the one, and then he kicks the shit out of some artificial dudes with a gang of posse. There's a traitor in there, and then he does believe he's the one and overcomes them. Beautiful. I like it. It's my $10.
It's Toy Story.
It is. It's the same story, right? It's the same hero's journey story. It goes to that kind of idea. So it's like Blake Schneider. Blake Schneider talks about I love how he talks about pitching. He says the caveman around the fire, that. And I don't know if you remember that analogy, but it's like Hollywood films especially, they need to be like a caveman could come home from the hunt and say, oh, how'd your hunt go? Oh, it's tough out there. There was a woolly beast and I had to jump a creek and I did this. We all enjoy that sort of action adventure story. And The Matrix has that. But then if you want something that's a little bit deeper, every single scene and conversation in this film has that symbolic element to it, that there's more going on. And if you are someone that has read a lot or watched a lot of films, you start to notice those reference points that the Wachowskis have put in, and it just blows your brain away.
I think when we get into we'll move on pretty quickly because
I think we can end up talking for 5 hours.
There's a number of what I never noticed the first couple of times I watched it. So when I watched it the other night, as I said, from the Space Brains point of view, because they're Space Brains, and I'm hoping that people listening to this start taking this kind of opinion. Because we have in our list of 50 films, there are films that have been absolute critical successes, and there have been films that have been heavily panned, have got Rotten Tomato scores really low. And we've enjoyed all of them.
And some films that sort of haven't had much light exposure, of the daily exposure,
And so as this joy watching here, and I'm watching the Matrix in the same way, analysing and going, what is it that's really fun about this? What am I enjoying? What's great? And I'll pick up on a few things here which I never picked up on before, and which make me realise now that, as I said, the Wachowskis, I've seen some of the other films, didn't quite get the same thing. They really just, I don't know if they just had more time or more to prove with this being their sort of first big film. So we'll go into that because I'm very excited to talk about it.
Yeah. So, sorry, what was your favourite scene?
Oh my God. Okay, so this is one of those really tough ones because...
That's me doing a really poor Hugo Weaving, by the way.
Mr. Anderson.
Mr. Anderson.
You are a cancer. Geez Louise. How do you pick? Okay, so
pick one.
From the most recent viewing, the one that I got the most enjoyment out of was the red pill, blue pill.
Yeah, it's a good scene. And so, what's the point of that scene?
Well, the point of that scene is to choose the second act.
Yeah. It is. No, it is. Literally. It totally is. Literally is.
Quite literally. Does the film continue?
Yeah.
Or do we run the credits?
Credits. I need to go to the toilet. Why did you like it? Why is that
so what I loved about that visually, and I hadn't really noticed this before, but when they get to this building, we get this. It's Frankenstein. Okay, just the whole thing. As soon as they pull up in the car. It's rainy. It's Frankenstein's castle they pulled up to, basically.
Yeah, right.
And the way it's shot from the bottom of this weird...
It is, isn't it?
Almost Gothic tower. This whole thing, most of this was filmed in Sydney. So
yes. Yeah.
I was recognising the Westpac building. It actually said Westpac and MMI and all the rest of it. But the way they had it with the rain pouring down, so that Frankenstein's castle, lightning flashes in the background, it's ominous. And they go in and you get that angle down the staircase and it's that sort of green, black and red and dark and dingy and they're going up and the camera sort of swirls up out of it. It's really drawing in on this. And when they actually get up the top there, they go into that room. You know, do you take the red pill or the green pill? You can imagine Dr. Frankenstein saying, what is life? It is nothing but a spark in the flesh. Talking like William Shatner. But and then when it's like you want to see the monster, you want to see what my research is, and that's when you go into Frankenstein's laboratory. Where there's lightning outside of the kind, and every time it says, "And here it is, it's alive." And there's weird machines and zapping, and it's exactly the same setup. He walks in, there's weird machines all about the place, it's thunder crashing, heavy curtains, old, I don't know what era sort of furniture's Queen Anne or something.
It's old.
And he sits down there and then Morpheus would say something important and then there'll be a crash of thunder behind him, but it's not like, it wasn't really big. Like when I watched this the first time, I didn't really pick up on this. It was just kind of, they're in kind of a moody place. Okay, move on.
Dingy old place, yeah.
But of course, that was because when I was first watching it, I really want to know. He's going, what is the Matrix? And I had already been thinking about possibilities of what it could be. And then it's revealed, and that blew my mind. Of course, I was like, I didn't think the whole thing's a simulation. And then there's like this hovercraft, and they actually had all the special effects for that. Yeah. Because again, in plenty of previous movies and TV shows, they never went there.
No.
It give you that promise of, the world might end and be overrun by aliens. And it wouldn't be, because it just wouldn't.
No.
But then this movie went there. It's a whole simulation, the whole thing, bang, destroyed. But leading up to that, it was just that Frankenstein's monster and the curiosity leading someone in, and then it's just Alice in Wonderland through the looking glass. Literally, he's looking at a reflection, and then he gets sucked into it. He's in the reflection of the looking glass. It was just, and that special effect reminded me of Lawnmower Man.
Yeah, Lawnmower.
Where the dude he has that scream. Not to mention then, what was it? Was it music for the Jilted Generation album cover, and there was Alien. It was definitely Giger-esque sort of architecture and cables and plugs and all sorts. That scene was just so rich and meaningful and interesting.
Yes, it is.
And that's not to say that every other scene in this film was not also my favourite scene,
and you have that fantastic sunglass shot, don't you, with Morpheus, with the pills.
Take the blue pill.
And Neo.
You return to where you wake up in the morning and you go back to work. None of this exists. Or you take the red pill and see how far this rabbit hole goes, or whatever the hell it is.
Yeah.
He'd already followed the white rabbit, so they were just continuing that metaphor.
And
that was another beautiful piece of just delicately woven.
Yeah.
Because if you never really thought about it, you didn't get punched in the face with the fact that they're doing the whole Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah.
But sure enough, follow the white rabbit, and he does. He gets a bit of a message, and he finally ends up at this point being, does he want to go down to Wonderland, go through the looking glass or not?
And as a narrative, you're exactly right. As a narrative journey, it's a really funny, obvious, if you take this pill, the story's over. Choose your own adventure, isn't it? And then, you could have done the Matrix Groundhog Day. Like, then he wakes back up again in front of the computer and goes, "Oh, it's a dream." And they go, "Follow the white rabbit, you stupid. We're going to do this all over again." But he does take it, and it's that perfect example of, talking about writing a film or a novel. You have to have this point to move into a second act that the main character, the protagonist, in this case Neo, has to make a choice to go on that journey. Yeah. And he's literally given it in this film as two coloured pills. And one means you could just go back, you'll forget about it, it's all good, you'll forget about us and move on, and we'll forget about you and the end of your protagonist journey. Or are you the hero and therefore need to go off on, and search for answers? And Morpheus does say some line in there like, no one can be told the Matrix, you have to experience it for yourself. He says some line like that, doesn't he, as well? And it's like, so exactly, he's on that hero's journey. This is the classic hero's journey, this film, the same as Star Wars. For Luke, he's on that hero's journey, and if he doesn't take that next step, then, we don't go into Act 2. It's the perfect example of moving on, this film.
That's right. Did you have a favourite scene?
I love Hugo Weaving interrogating Morpheus later in the film. But, there's so many scenes that are really good. But that Morpheus has been taken by the agents. He's tied up. He's at this top of this skyscraper. It's very epic. But the scene, and Neo in the background is deciding to come and save him, right? So that's just kind of the plot point as what's going on. But he's interrogating him in this room, and there's a scene where he's kind of had enough, Agent Smith. And what's so cool about that is really up to now he's been incredibly robotic, programmed, and he's kind of invincible, right? Like, we're given the perception that the agents are invincible. We're told they never die. They can transition bodies, whatever, right? But at this point, in this scene, he's kind of had enough of the games, and he takes his earpiece out, and it's kind of that real, this guy has a little bit more to him, doesn't it? And I just love that conversation that then he has with Morpheus, where he says that he realizes that humans are not actually mammals. And the reason being is that mammals move into an environment and create a equilibrium in that environment. Whereas, in his words, humans don't. They move in and they... what's the word?
They consume all the resources.
They consume all the natural resources the environment has. And then they move on to another space.
The only way to survive is to move on to another place.
Yeah, and then he's like, there's one other creature on this planet that does it, which is a virus. And his line, I think, is something like, human beings are the plague.
Hey, you're a cancer of the earth.
You're a cancer. And, isn't that also, it's an amazing scene. Hugo Weaving's great. And then it kind of leads on, and we have the action and the sweating and the water. And that's the thing, Morpheus is just sweating. I don't know what they're doing to him.
Yeah,
and there's also, it's not part of that scene that happens a few minutes later when, after Trinity and Neo attack, and those other agents come in, they go, he took his earpiece out.
Yeah, he doesn't know.
He doesn't know. It's like, oh, hello, agents, a little bit of gossip.
Yeah, so
so I just love that. It's such a dynamic. It gives Agent Smith a little bit of extra personality. It heightens the scene. It also makes you go, again, when you're deep in the philosophy of this film. When I saw that the first time, I'm like, he's kind of right. Humans suck. We are destroying the planet. We are like this. You're right. The apes and the ants and the fish and everything else. I know they're not mammals, but they look up. They don't just kind of destroy everything. They kind of this natural balance. We have so maybe it kind of makes you question who are the good guys.
Who's the real monster?
Who's the real monster? Right? Yeah,
Agent Smith.
Yeah.
No, well, and those questions are, of course, answered somewhat in the follow-up films. Because there's a fourth film coming out. Shortly.
Yeah, there is. Because even that, because that kind of connects earlier in the story as well. Like Morpheus telling us that, or it was Morpheus or one of the other dudes, but like them telling us that humans bombed the skies to like destroy the solar panels that the AI had.
Yeah, the solar power.
And then, but then they've like they overpowered, and then they've used us as batteries, right? Like, and you're like, oh, that's awful. But it's like, yeah, we're the ones that fucked the environment. We're the ones that bombed the sky. Like, and that's what humans would do, right? That's what we would do.
But it is that question there they bring up with Sci-Fi and his betrayal, where he's sitting there with the steak and he says, I know this is just my brain. You're telling me that it's juicy and like, but I can't tell the difference.
Yeah,
like. And you got to think that is one of the questions is, do you really want to be out of the Matrix?
Yeah.
Like, okay, it's one thing, oh, look at that, the Matrix, oh, it's all fake. But really, as Morpheus says, what is reality anyway?
And that's the question. And it is the question. It's like, what you're saying there, Sci-Fi asks, so you can look deep into that, and it's like, ignorance is bliss. If you don't know a piece of information, is that better than knowing that piece of information?
There are some things you cannot unknow.
That's right.
That's where like people end up in psychiatric care and so forth from traumas and PTSD and so forth because they've had experiences that they cannot unexperience, or they have a great deal of difficulty doing so. So there's most definitely there is some information that is too much information.
Yeah, and it is that opposite of like, well, education frees humanity and makes us better and all that kind of stuff. Well, the opposite is maybe if you learn too much, are you then crippled by that information? You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yes, I have to say so.
So are you up to any mischief with your creativity at the moment? Any progress going on with that?
My mischief, creativity, oh my God.
Any zeros and ones being added to the computer?
Well, school's gone back, so that means it's time to start organising a writing group and getting some work down that way.
Yep, awesome.
Because I'm down here not commuting up to the big smoke every day.
Yep.
So now it's time to sort of...
Your matrix has changed heavily.
Many people think, there was a glitch.
There's a total glitch. COVID.
Total glitch. And here we are. But... science fiction wise, I'm watching this show Carnival Row, which is not science fiction, but it took us a while to realise it was Orlando Bloom. Because he doesn't look like Orlando Bloom in it, unless I guess you're a big fan of Orlando Bloom, you know exactly what he looks like. But that's that. I've put together my my incredible Netflix series that's going to premiere next year. It got a big step forward there where I was trying to figure out, because it goes from the short story, and the short story obviously doesn't go into too much. It's only got 20,000 words. So it's kind of a novella or something, a novelette. Yeah. But I was sitting there cracking through some of the characters, and this is where inspiration hits, and I'm sure you get the same thing. I was sitting there, I had no clue. I had some basic idea of what I wanted, but not really anything that was interesting. Like, if you asked me what it was about. And now, I won't go into it because it's like listening to someone explain their own dream. It's kind of boring as fuck. Yes. But anyway, it just struck me, and I just started writing. I've written up this bit, and I'm going, okay, that's gold. That is something there, right there, really interesting.
Yep.
It's... And it's we've spoken a bit about going through to try and find what your creative spark is, or what these things is, and one of mine is that redemption story. Yep. But the other one here is the one where there's multiple layers, and the Matrix is just like that. So there's, on the surface, there's the basic struggle of these three characters to achieve their basic goals.
Yeah.
But then underneath that, there's kind of this. Let's call it a mythology which informs the construction of those stories.
Yep.
And then there's offshoots of that, which is just mystery. and they'll never be explained.
Yep.
And so, that's the sort of thing. And I was just writing that down. So I'm
Awesome.
I'm very excited by that little breakthrough.
Cool.
Got that, got the basic mythos, which just I really like. It's got enough unexplained, enough world in there, but enough unexplained that there's this concept in there called the crash, which happened earlier. I'm not going to explain it any of it. It's unimportant as to exactly what it was. Some sort of apocalypse, maybe. Maybe it was actually just literally just like a stock market crash, or maybe it was something like the Twin Towers. Like literally there's an important busload of delegates that crashed. Who knows? But it's just this thing called the crash, after which things changed, and that sort of mystery in the background, which is never going to have a definitive answer. Like I don't even really know what it is. I don't want to work out. All the physics of
your
it.
world building.
It's
stuff.
unimportant.
Yeah.
It's like what's the Big Bang? Oh well, we could start going to sort of all sorts of things, but it's what was before the Big Bang. Who knows? Goodness me. Same thing. The crash is just my world's Big Bang.
Yeah.
And it's
something that changed society.
It's something that changed the world into what it is then.
Yeah. Cool.
So there we go. That was great. And I nearly forgot I did that. I was on the train. Not last week because we were in lockdown.
Lockdown.
The Reaper virus was spreading too fast. And they locked big fences. No.
It does really...
I had to wear my Master Bunnings is what it meant.
I had to really think about Doomsday, that we went into such a strict,
and the power outage.
Yeah, I know. It happened on the same night, at the same time. We basically... Lockdown began here at 6 p.m. on a Sunday, and where we live, we don't live in the same dungeon, Surrey and I, but separate dungeons. We both had blackouts.
We're middle-class trolls. We have separate dungeons.
Right, yeah. It was freaky. It happened at the exact same time.
It was a blackout there, and I know we were sort of sitting there going, ooh. Lucky it was summertime and there was still light outside.
Do you know the weirdest thing is my oldest son, he said over dinner, which was, at like 5 o'clock, he's like, will they turn off the lights? And I'm like, no, they won't turn off the lights. And then when it happened, I'm like, you caused this. Because I said they won't do that because that causes like mass panic. Like, in fact, like it's like proven you turn off the lights, you cause people to start to freak out a bit. And it's like the lights went out at 6:05. I'm like, this is one way to really cause the lockdown. Just turn out the power and watch everyone go feral on each other.
Yeah, I never found out what had happened.
No, but it didn't end up actually being out for that long.
About an hour and a half, I think, before it even got properly dark.
Yeah, it wasn't even that bad.
So that was nice because we were all sort of going, we don't have any lighting. We've got our phones, that's it. So there you go.
Yeah, I quickly, you do that. Because it was still light, I was like, I'll quickly, in the garage, I've got a rechargeable torch thing. So I was like, is it charged? That's the thing. So I was like, go out there. And it did have a bit of that. We've got our phones and we have a couple of candles somewhere. So in the dungeon. I myself are busy like you, writing. COVID lockdown. I want to make my next short film in April this year, like as in shooting in sometime in April. And it's like, I was literally going to speak to my cinematographer again, the same guy that did my last film, last week. I was like literally going to go, okay, let's go have coffee. And it's like COVID happened, like, we're not going to be able to do this again. So I've actually this sort of coming into this week decided my plan was to really polish up. I've got these 3 different short scripts and so I'm spending this week and next week with my spare time. I want to have them polished, so that therefore if it looks promising that we're coming out of COVID and everything sort of is okay, then I will shoot one of them. If not, stick with the writing because you can control the writing. That's the thing.
Yes, you can always write more.
Yeah, and you and I couldn't record last week, so we could do that. So that's one thing. I'm also working on my feature. That's not science fiction at all. That's going to be horror, a crocodile horror story. So the plan will be to write that over this 12 months, over this year.
Everyone does like a big monster eating people.
Yeah. It's something that's been bouncing around for a little while in the back of my head. So it's good. I think I shared with you previously that pinboard idea. So kind of each day I'm sort of pin in another card. So I know about the 40 beats and things like that. I haven't quite got to that point, but I'm just at this point, like each day I'm like, oh, and the character should do this, and oh, why would they do that? And, you know, like just sort of answering little questions sort of thing. So stuff that, as you know, that might not actually even end up in the final script, but just that you as the God-seeing power over your story knows exactly what everyone is doing at all times, you know? So, and even like I've pinned up some things about crocodiles and stuff like that. So yeah, a couple of little cool things bumping along.
Oh, that is awesome.
Yeah.
And we've almost finished our rebranding exercise.
We have, yeah.
Which is, or maybe just a branding exercise.
Yeah,
so
we never really did one.
Because we're going to be launching all sorts of exciting stuff in this coming year.
Yeah.
And we need to be consistent in our message.
Yeah, so Space Brains will kind of have a bit of an image rebrand. I think it is a rebranding.
Yeah, it's a rebrand.
It's a rebrand. Yeah, new colours, new look to the logo, new access points online probably, and then leading into some other exciting things that Space Brains wants to do.
Oh,
yeah. Okay, so let's get into the narrative, the story of The Matrix. We've touched on our favourite scenes or a couple of important parts. I think it's hard to actually say one piece. One thing I want to say, which we've already talked about a little bit, Surrey's mentioned like bullet time. We've talked about animation or anime style. The other thing is this film is very, very cinematically styled. And by that, I mean like rule of thirds to the T. So dividing up your shot into three, shooting your eyeball right on that cross point of the rule of thirds, whether that's Trinity, whether that's Neo, whether it's Agent Smith, or whether it's the Matrix itself. Everything was shot very, very cinematically, beautifully shot. Those shots of Sydney, you know, they really cleverly... You and I think Australians, we could recognise, oh, there's the Commonwealth Bank building.
No, you saw the logo come past.
You saw some logos. But even though it's Sydney, there's no Harbour Bridge, there's no Opera House, because it's not supposed to be Sydney. It's just supposed to be a city.
I don't think it's mentioned what city
it's not supposed to be. It's just a city, isn't it, right?
Yeah.
Like, so in 1990. So, and in fact, like you were describing that building, there's parts of the city in this, and there's a bit of a like green tinge to the whole Matrix.
This is
like it's a
one
bit
of
of a
those
grimy, slimy part that you don't pick up the first time. If you've seen this film only once, you need to go back and notice the colouring inside the Matrix. Yeah. And I don't mean the whole film. I mean when the program is running, everything's a bit grainy and grimy.
I wanted to bring that up because that was the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
The first time I've seen this effect used is Wizard of Oz.
Yep.
Back when I was...
Which is another film that's very similar to this.
I was way back, but... You know, it's black and white in Kansas.
Yeah.
And I remember as a kid watching it, it's a black and white film. Oh.
Yeah.
And then she gets to Oz and it's colour. But it's brilliant, bright yellows and things.
Yeah, it's saturated.
And this is the same thing as in the Matrix. It's all a bit green and amber, which is representative of that computer sort of screen. Like the very starts up with Neo waking up.
Yeah.
And the green text comes off, wake up, Neo.
Yeah.
And
there is this greeny, grimy look to it.
But then when he gets into the real world, you get more natural colours, skin tones, pinker, and there's sort of bluers and blacks and
Mouse's little simulation with the woman in the red dress is very artificially bright, even though they're kind of outside in a city street.
Yes.
So that's a different look than the Matrix look, which is interesting. Again,
yes,
you don't notice
it doesn't have the green tinge.
It doesn't have the green tinge.
I know, and that's what I loved about watching this through the eyes of a space brain.
Yeah.
Was picking up on things like the Frankenstein. There's a few others which I'll go into here, but the Kansas to the Oz transitions is wonderful.
And we do have that bullet time effect happen a few times, so we'll make note of that as we go. So, at the start, we have this abandoned hotel within a major city, grimy, gritty again. We have this woman that we don't know who she is, and it is Trinity, that we'll learn that later. She's cornered by a police squad. which is interesting. And they're kind of old-fashioned police. You notice that?
Yeah, it gave me the feeling of 1990, it was the 80s feel to it.
Yeah,
Like it had
the
that.
cop cars and the uniforms and all that. Rock up. And I think there's a joke in there about one woman.
Yeah, well, the agents turn up and say, your instructions were very precise. I don't think we have to worry about one woman. Sorry, that's not how he spoke at all.
Your officers are already dead.
Yeah, it was for your protection. I keep sounding like William Shatner.
And so she has a bit of a fight with him, doesn't she?
Well, the interesting thing here, when I was watching the very first time, it was not clear necessarily who the good guys were and who the bad guys were. When the agents arrived, you knew they weren't the good guys.
Yeah.
They were far too stiff. They had the classic federal, mean federal.
Well, they're very paisley white, aren't they? And they're wearing sunglasses, even though it's nighttime.
Yeah.
But they're very white, and they're wearing these like Men in Black suits kind of idea again. And you're right; it looks like they're FBI agents or CIA agents.
But it wasn't clear if this woman was a bad guy, like a terrorist,
No.
or she was a good guy. But then, oddly enough, as soon as the fight starts, where she spins around, kick, and then leaps up into the first bullet time, and that I just about shat my pants when I saw it the first time in the cinema.
Yeah.
It was like, holy cow, that is the coolest thing ever to see in the cinema. Like, and the whole cinema had the same response of like, oh my God. Because it like rotated around and she was just frozen and then suddenly kicked and then you went, nah, she's a good guy.
Yeah.
No bad guy could be that cool at the start of a film. The bad guy can do something cool, but only later on, like at the twist at the end of the plot, where suddenly the bad guy reveals his true form.
That's right.
But at the start, only good guys can be that cool.
Yeah. Anyway, so she takes off knowing that the agents are chasing her, and they have this kind of epic, over-the-top of factory kind of buildings.
And again, this is one of those first watching it, because the marketing for this did not at all tell you what the Matrix was.
No.
In fact, the whole marketing ploy was...
What is the Matrix?
Yeah, no one can tell you what the Matrix is. What is the Matrix?
What is the Matrix?
And so as a result, you're seeing this woman, she's clearly running faster, better, stronger. Like, she's not huffing and puffing, but she's just absolutely pounding along, going up and down these wonky,
factory roofs.
And the agents likewise, and the police were scampering and sort of tripping and huffing and heaving, and then she leaps over the building and then leaps over another building. The cops barely make it across, and then she goes pshaw across a big building. The agent follows across, and the cops stop and go, holy crap. And in my head I'm trying to figure out what the Matrix is. I'm going, is the Matrix like a team of people?
Yeah. That's
like,
right.
are those agents called the Matrix? Yeah. Are they like some conspiracy or something? Like, you're desperately trying to figure out, and what is she, a robot or is she a superhero? It's like, it doesn't look like a superhero film.
No.
Although, of course, there were a couple of superhero films that came after this which did look like this.
Yes.
But anyway, and then she leaps through the window, smashes down, rolls down, pulls the guns out, couple of breaths, and there's, okay, get up, Trinity. Get up.
It's a great line.
Which, again, she must be the good guy. Yeah. Because a bad guy would never be so human.
No.
And then she gets up and she runs on down to the street and...
telephone box?
Yeah, she sees the telephone box and it's ringing. Yeah. And the dump truck screeches up.
It's so good, that. Yeah.
And then they both charge, like the dump truck is going to smash it. And she's running for the phone box, and I was just looking at it going, what, like... This doesn't make sense to me. No. My first,
She grabs the phone.
I wish I could go back and watch this for the first time again.
I know.
And when I told people to go back and watch this, if that was the first time you watched it, I envy you so much, because you would have been going, what the hell is she doing? Well, maybe it wouldn't be so much now, because nowadays maybe you're thinking, oh, she'll do some sort of leaping, spinning thing, grab the phone on the way through, and something outrageous. But you only think that because of the Matrix.
Yes, that's right.
Did that. But no, she jumps in there and picks up the phone and looks and puts her hands up on the glass as the truck comes up and then
smashes into the phone box.
Through. And
it's Agent Smith that gets out.
Yeah,
right?
Agent Smith gets out and
which is also battling.
Dusts off his thing and flicks his lapels. He's just too cool.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking to myself, so what the hell just happened? Because her body wasn't there, and he looks and he's disappointed at the wreckage and moves off. And I'm like, just what?
I know, there's a lot of what's.
I was going, this is. Can she travel through the phone lines?
Yeah.
Like, because she's a hacker. I was going, nanobots? I don't know. I was really reaching for stuff.
I know. I just think that it was so fast paced in that you were kind of picking up, okay, she's some sort of superhuman, super strength. These agents are the same. So they're like, you're sort of thinking, I think I had some sort of thought that they're probably all the same breed of people.
Yeah, maybe she escaped from them. She's like
they
a rebel.
had some sort of training, because you've seen that sort of story before. She's got the special training or whatever, but you had no idea. And then you would it's a great opening of a film because you just don't really know where it's going, right?
No, and later on, of course, it all makes perfect sense.
It does. So then we are awoken to Thomas Anderson,
Mr.
and he's asleep at his computer, which again is like one of these ancient 1980s computer. Something like that to turn it on. Before Windows 95, there was another noise. Ding, 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 ding. And it's a green screen. He's asleep in front of it. And it's a green screen, the old DOS mode. And it's a green screen that's kind of loading, which kids these days don't even understand either. But it's like loading up, and there's a picture of Morpheus and terrorist attack or something, or looking for international terrorists. Sort of some newspaper articles flashing over, and that all suddenly stops, and the screen says, "Wake up, Neo," and he does.
Yes,
which is quite interesting if you're watching it for a second time. I've got to say, because you're like, wake up, Neo, and he just instantly wakes up. Says a lot, sorry. Anyway, and he reads the screen a bit puzzled, and it says to him, what is the Matrix? Which we're all like, yeah, that's what we saw the ads, Neo. Yeah. We understand how you feel. Tell us what the name Matrix is. But they're not going to tell us. And he's like, what? And he what does he do?
Control X.
X does nothing. Yeah. Big time hacker, can't even get his computer working properly. And then it says to him to follow the white rabbit.
Yeah, if you want to learn more,
follow the white rabbit. That's right.
What? Whoa.
Which is a good, whoa, dude. Just because of Bill and Ted, eh? Anyway, and then it's like, knock, knock, Neo. And then there's a knock. And then his computer screen is like, it's totally off.
Yeah.
Which, in the 90s... This effect had been used a bit more forward. Like even somewhere like Nightmare on Elm Street, people waking up from a dream, and then it's just like it's not anything like the dream.
The TV's off.
The TV's off. The TV was talking. Someone was talking to them through the TV, but now the TV's just off. So you're like, they must have been dreaming, and that's what he thinks. This guy is at the front door looking for some hacking code, some sort of deal that he had with Neo. He gives him $2,000.
That's pretty good.
It's a pretty good deal, I thought, as well.
1990s, $2,000
US, even though
back
he's in
then
Sydney.
You could buy a 4-bedroom house on the beach on Sydney Cove.
This guy warns him, Neo warns him that if he's found with this stuff, it's on him, and he's not in approval of that. But then he starts to say, you're looking a bit white, or whiter than normal. And he goes,
my computer was doing something strange. Whoa.
Or he says a great line, doesn't he? Which is, do you ever have the feeling that you're awake, but you're asleep?
Yes.
Or is it the other way around?
You're awake, but you're still dreaming.
Yeah.
Well, you're still dreaming, but you're awake.
Yes.
That's the one.
And he says, and then he starts talking about, there's a drug that I'm on it all the time.
Yeah, I know that one. It says you just need to lay back a bit. How about you come with us down? And the woman sort of hugs that guy and goes, yeah, and
maybe
her shoulder turns.
Be worth it. Make it worth your time.
And he sees the white rabbit tat.
Yeah.
So he goes,
sure, dude.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah, man, I will go. Let's go. And, there's a great jump
Excellent.
cut. Yeah. And he's so mellow. That scene's so mellow, it's just a bit weird. But there's a great, jump cut to some Rob Zombie.
Zombie. And this, again, is a scene that has been used since. Back, of course, again, so you look at Underworld, which came out after this.
Yep.
It's the exact same as been used in Underworld, and countless movies.
Yeah.
So, but this was probably one of the first times that you were suddenly introduced to this, hard lights and dark shadows, and this Rob Zombie Dragula was playing, which was a new style of metal music at the time.
Yeah.
Which I remember very much excited me.
Yeah.
And it was going in this club, and he's not really doing much. He's just kind of standing there as you do, and then we see the back shot of the back shoulders and hair of, "Hello, Neo. How do you know that name?" "Oh, Keanu, we love you."
Yeah.
He's coming on the show next week.
He is.
Yeah. No, he's right here now.
He's just spreading to know.
Oh my goodness me.
So Trinity's there, and she reveals that she is Trinity, and that's another hacker.
And he says, "Oh, you did the Defense Department or something."
And he also says, "I thought you were a guy," and she's like, "Everyone thinks so."
Most guys think that. Yeah.
Which is a nice little touch. And then she says, Morpheus is the person that he is seeking for the answers.
Oh, hey, that Trinity statement. I just had an amazing thought. Wachowski brothers, I thought you were a guy. Most guys think that.
Yeah.
Was this pre-foreshadowing?
Maybe.
Was this like a little quiet note saying, "Hey,
with gender imbalance,
we're actually coming. We're not.
Maybe
brothers. We're not the Wachowski brothers. We look at. A lot of people think we are, but okay. When the Wachowskis join us in time, I will ask them if, in fact, that line by Trinity was like a little subtle foreshadowing of their own.
Yeah, well, maybe they can clear that up for us.
Coming, revelations.
Yes, in future episodes, Space Brains.
I just got too. Okay, I'm going to just say hot take. That's exactly what that was.
Okay,
they were already writing into their films little hints about their own social and personal situations.
That's what all writers do. I mean, I've read your stories. They reveal all sorts of things about your imbalances in your life.
Yes, mostly about my anger at train systems.
So, Neo, a team of... does it go to Neo's workplace next, doesn't it, the next day?
Yeah, he's getting chewed out by his boss.
That's right. Oh, that's right.
The alarm goes... Well, the alarm goes off and he wakes up.
That's right. He wakes up...
9:18 or whatever. So it's like,
he runs in late to his office. That's right, yeah.
And his boss talks to him like Mr. Smith.
Yeah, he does.
You don't realise it, of course.
And there's the window cleaner.
Yeah. If that is not taken directly from... Who does that? Like those really irritating... I can't bring it to mind now, but it reminded me of some other films I've seen with that same sort of... Something really super mundane going on. Like a window cleaning... Which you normally wouldn't bother including in a scene like this, because the importance is, the tension, the drama between the boss and the character. But in reality, it shows Neo's detachment from the situation, because he's just like hearing the squeaking of the window washer
while the boss tells him off,
and the boss is talking like Neo, and he used that line. It's like, you wander through life thinking you're some kind of unique snowflake. Yeah. In reality, you're very wrong, or something like. I can't remember what he exactly said. It was really cool and terrible thing to say to a person, but.
But the whole point is, don't listen to the boss, right? Because the window is like, it's nothing really in the grand scheme.
So Neo's given that choice, which is the red pill, blue pill foreshadowing here of, you either come in here and turn up to work and keep a job, or you have an adventure. Yeah. Shall we say?
So he goes, I'll take the job. So he says no to the adventure.
No to the adventure.
And he goes back to his depressing little 1990s cubicle.
Yeah, do people actually work in those? Cause,
yeah, people do.
Because I have a feeling I've heard a lot of Americans talking about cube farms and so. Yeah. I've never experienced such a thing.
We have one where I work, but it's much more open compared to, say, something that's Neo like this. But I think a lot of...
I've seen it because there's that movie Office Space.
Yeah, they do it.
And a lot of American films, I think their open plan offices
are these little
cube farms, as it were, which are terribly depressing.
Yeah. Anyway, he gets a delivery and he opens it up.
FedEx.
and
Not Amazon. Nowadays it'd be Amazon.
Flip phones.
Yeah, he gets a phone and he thrusts it out.
Because it starts ringing, right?
And he goes, flick.
Yeah.
It's just so cool. I just, again, almost wet my pants watching it the first time. It's like, that is the coolest phone in the universe.
And it's Morpheus. And Morpheus just straight away, hey, sorry. Hey, Neo, how's it going, bro? It's Morpheus. He's just like, if you want to survive, you'll need to listen to my instructions.
They have found you.
They have found you. There's agents in the building right now. And he's like, what? Dude.
There is no time.
And he stands up and the agent's over there. And it's great, isn't it? Great timing because there's like one of Paul Neo's colleagues like, yeah, he's over there.
Yeah.
And just points.
And
I want to be that extra in that movie.
The three agents look at the same time.
And he ducks down and he does he's doing the crawling around.
Does his little bandy-legged waddle thing.
And it's kind of totally fine, but in hindsight you realise how Morpheus does this. But Morpheus is like, okay, go left, jump in that cubicle.
Okay, now I'm going to pause the session here for a moment. Can you tell me what computer-related thing this is an homage to?
Oh, Pac-Man.
Pac-Man, exactly. Yeah. I didn't catch it the first couple of times I watched it, but I was watching this time and I just went,
totally,
holy crap! Because you even see the agents move in that robotic, and they start going out and there's someone's giving them the instruction. No, go left, go right, go forward, turn right. I know. I didn't see it the first few times, but this time, and I'm glad that you got it as well. But yes, Pac-Man.
He's being guided to safety, and it's another good sort of like debate, isn't it? Because he gets to the point where then he has to climb out the window.
Yes.
So he's in this skyscraper. He climbs out the window, starts walking along. Morpheus tells him, go, along the edge, trust me. And he's trusting him.
There's only two ways out of this building.
Yeah.
In their custody or up that, what is it called?
Up the window cleaner thing.
Scaffold.
Right? The scaffold thing, yeah. So he has to go along this edge, and there's a great moment because then he's got the phone, and Morpheus basically is giving him that challenge, and he's gotten to the edge, and there's just such a shonky piece of metal, isn't there?
Yeah,
I mean, that would not be on a skyscraper, would it? But it's so great for movie making. But it's like he grabs his, it's just wobbly as anything.
Well, it cuts the ledge, so he would have to actually step around it. So this is that moment he has to make that choice. He'd have to step. This is his first obstacle he's reached,
and he drops the phone.
Drops the phone, and that
just falls.
Gave me vertigo watching it down.
It falls to its technological death, and it's great because I think as an audience you're thinking, oh, he'll get around this, but no, he surrenders.
No, well, I don't blame him because he's not proved himself so far to be particularly heroic.
But he's just failed himself now.
Yes.
So he's captured by the agents and he's escorted out of the building into their black car, not police car. And there's a great reflection shot. Trinity's watching him be arrested through
on a cool
the mirror on an awesome motorbike. Yeah. And then this is where we get the first kind of Hugo Weaving, Agent Smith, real kind of happening, don't we?
Yeah, so he's looking through his
Mr. Anderson. And it's great because he's
Let me be frank about the situation.
He describes the character. Like he says, well, it seems that we have Mr. Anderson, a qualified banker or something. I don't know what he actually says, but he's like, who's got a day job, an apartment building, and
pays his taxes. They say that a couple of times in this. They mention pays your tax.
And he closes that folder and he goes, but then we also have Neo. And he opens up that file like nice and slowly on the desk. International hacker. Could go crimes against humanity, whatever, blah, blah, blah.
Countless crimes. One of these people has a future.
Yeah. So again, he's giving him a decision, right? And he's like, flips him the bird.
Yeah, he says, well, I've got...
Dude.
This funny thing, I want my phone call. Like, there's no rule that says you get a phone call.
No.
Like, what? Says who?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, like, in the States, the rule is that you can ask for a lawyer.
Yeah.
And one will be provided if you don't have your own. That kind of might be considered a phone call, but they won't give you a phone call if they think that giving a phone call would be dangerous, for example.
Yeah.
Like, what if you had, like, a bomb at the end of the phone? Let me just go detonate a bomb now. And
he says something like, screw you, I want my phone call. And then he says, what good... Now tell me this, Mr. Anderson. What good is a phone call when you cannot speak? And that is a creepy ass line, isn't it?
I know. Again,
And then and as an audience, you're like, yeah, like, what's he going to do?
Well,
like,
he sort of looks around at the other two guys like he's going to be bashed.
yeah.
But no, his mouth starts
closing over.
And again, I'm sitting there as a first timer watching it going, what the hell?
How are they doing this?
What is going on? Is this... I was so down, because they did the whole Men in Black thing. I'm going, okay, there's got to be aliens.
Yeah.
And I think I'd watched Dark City just around about the same time.
Yeah, that came out pretty similar.
But yeah, this is an interesting homage to Harlan Ellison's "I Have No Mouth But I Must Scream," which, if I might just give you just a really super quick plot.
I think it's going to have to be super quick.
It's going to be. We don't have to worry about it. So it's set in a post-apocalyptic future after these three superpowers, Russia, US, and China, have developed artificial intelligences to fight their wars, but the artificial intelligence merge together and destroy the humans.
Right.
And the story is set with this small group of humans being tortured and chased by the robots, by the artificial intelligence.
Yep.
And the whole world is just like an Arctic wasteland. And so it goes on. It's very similar in style and theme and idea as The Matrix.
Yeah.
So when I, as I said, as an older, more educated person watching this, and his mouth closes up and he has that trying to scream, but he can't because he has no mouth, I immediately just went, okay, now this is just... I think the Wachowskis were indicating, they're saying, look, if you've read the story, I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, you're going to recognize something that's coming up.
Yeah, yeah.
Artificial intelligence taking over the world and, captured humans. Humans are a plaything, if you like. But we're just going to let you now know, we know that we did this on purpose. This was not us ripping anyone off. So I think that was very cool.
Yeah, it's a good homage, good connection, right? Yeah. What year was that story? What year did that story go?
60.
Ah, right, yeah. So it's a bit of an old school.
That's old.
Yeah.
67.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and even the picture has a dude with Neo's sort of smooth mouth.
Yeah,
going on.
That's cool. So, and then from there they kind of pin him up against the wall, and they put this little electronic bug, which when they turn on, I mean, it's very sort of fixed, obviously, like wires and that. But when they turn it on, it kind of comes alive, doesn't it?
When
like
it's
a bit
pulled
of a
out,
tadpole.
it looks like one of those things that alien abductees reckon they get implanted with.
Yeah, and it climbs, gets legs out, and it kind of goes into his belly button, doesn't it?
Yeah.
He wakes up. He wakes up in his bed, doesn't he? And he kind of grabs his mouth, and he's okay. And and the way they've done that sort of jump cut is it kind of looks a bit like maybe it was a dream again, a nightmare. You're not, as an audience, we're not too sure what's real and what's not, and maybe that's what they're nodding towards as well. Walking down again another wet, rainy street. Things are pretty gloomy and doomy. This old car follows him and pulls up beside him, and it's Trinity and the gang.
Yeah, we got a couple of new people we haven't seen.
And they say to hop in because he's being tracked, and they drive off, and Trinity starts talking to him and saying, well, you've got to get this tracker out of you because they've bugged you.
Take your shirt off.
Take your shirt off.
No way.
No way, dude. And
then that cool old, what's their name? Switch,
yeah.
Gun to his head.
Yeah.
Car screeches to a stop. Open the door.
And it's another choice, isn't it? No, because he doesn't just get out. There's a street with rain, and he goes I think Trinity and says...
Well, no, first of all, Switch says, get out. It's my way or the highway.
Yeah. And then she says...
And Trinity cuts in to sort of smooth things a little bit. And that's where she says... You know what's down the end of that street.
Yeah.
What's at the end of that road.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be there. It's uncool.
Yeah. Something like that.
Paraphrasing.
But then, and she's like, you can stay with us and trust us, you know. And so then he closes the door. So again, he's choosing to go on this path.
He's a very.
And she brings out
cat.
the Dyson and just sticks it on his stomach.
Isn't
turns it on.
Wacky, weird machine. That
it starts like an ultrasound thing, and Switch and they go, "You're not going to get it."
Yeah, it's moving.
It's moving too fast. She's like, "Trust me, I'll get it." And he's like, "It's real! Oh my god!" I haven't even been smoking dope, and it's real. This thing's stupid. Whoa, dude! Who did this to me?
Yeah, they suck the little bug out of his
And they
guts.
suck the little, and they throw it down the street. As soon as it goes on the street, it dies. That's a great thing, isn't it? Like the red light turns off. I like that.
And then it's just an ordinary looking little bit of
bit
crap.
of metal, yeah. And they take him to meet Morpheus, which was that scene you were saying, the red pill and the blue pill. So this old Frankenstein tower, raining, gloomy, lightning flashing, giving this character a choice between two worlds. You can reset yourself. You'll wake up in the morning, you're good. You were talking about those homages. It's very much like, that's the thing for me. It was like, how much is it like Wizard of Oz? You're not in Kansas anymore, you know, or Alice tumbling down, which they literally say. They literally say, oh, it's like Alice tumbling down.
Yeah, take the red pill and, you know, go down further down the hole, see how far this hole goes.
Yeah. There's a beautiful reflection shot through Morpheus's glasses of, you know, and there's two Neos in the glasses.
Yes.
So again, it's the two characters. There's two, you could be either one of these characters.
And this is a very anime manga thing, these reflections off glasses to see what the other character's doing.
Yeah. Weird little camera angles, right? Like abstract camera. Yeah. So he swallows the red pill. Thank God. We've got a bit more movie to go. And his reality falls apart. He gets this kind of freeze up his arm, metal freeze goes up into his gullet, and there's a great distortion as we go down his throat. Oh. It's electronic. It's not. It's natural. It's weird. And then he wakes up in this kind of red tubular thing, which he bursts forth from. It opens, it flushes the fluid away. And
I think straight up, because it's red and green are chromatic opposites or complements. So if you're talking about red light and green light, if you filter out red light, then you get green light. If you filter out green light, you get red light. Like they're, you don't get red and green light. So it's interesting that the Matrix is all green tinged, the whole thing. And the first thing he does, he wakes up in this red tinge with heavy black outlines and sharp white reflections.
Yeah, definitely.
No green anywhere to be seen.
And he looks different. He's got a shaved head. He's got these tubes sticking into him everywhere.
He's gone all pruny from his bath.
He's all pruny. And he's like covered in sort of this, you know, fluid stuff. And then this weird, spider-like kind of robotic thing kind of comes hovering down right in front of him. Lots of eyes, takes him in. I think we get a point of view shot, don't we, of him, kind of like through the robotic's eyes. And there's a decision that he's obviously malfunctioned.
Yeah.
And so he's unplugged and
flushed down the toilet. And it's very much like a toilet.
It's very much like a toilet, isn't it? So these things pop off him and he's in a bit of pain from that. And then he's flushed down this toilet, and it's kind of like a long water slide. Quite traumatic for him.
Again, very, very Giga, very birthing.
Yeah,
or
birthing, yeah.
Pooing, or,
pooing.
Like it looks like an organic thing he's going down. There's all...
Yeah, very much like a baby being born. And he's lands in this big pile of sewage and wastage and whatever else. And then with that, this to me seems very birthing, is that this big electronic robotic arm grabs him.
I get that feeling of
lifts
those
him up.
Claw games, you know?
Yeah.
The claw, it chooses.
It is like the claw, yeah.
Yeah, there's bright light. It's alien abduction.
Abduction, yeah.
You can imagine people, the reality was people got flushed, picked up, and then returned or something.
Yeah. And it was very much like, because we had the shot from underneath, he's naked, being pulled towards this spaceship thing.
Yeah.
Really bright light, and then he's being lifted. So it's like transcendence as well, isn't it? Like he's being pulled into another world, like heavenly or whatever. So again, that spiritual, religious theme coming out here, I reckon. Great shot as well. Really cool shot. Low, looking up. I think some people out there probably get excited. You saw a bit of Keanu Reeves naked.
Yeah, on the other hand, though, he's pretty pruny at this point. He's been in the bathtub for a little bit too long.
Let's just say it's cold in there.
It's really cold.
And he's brought above Morpheus's flying ship, the
Nebuchadnezzar.
Yes, which means what? Sorry, it's religious. It's from the Bible.
I thought there was a king Nebuchadnezzar.
Yeah, isn't there? It's something to do with religion. I've never Googled it, but I know it is religious. I'm pretty sure it's from the Bible or something. So as Neo sort of recuperates from a lifetime of this, weirdness of being in this bubble bath, plugged into the Matrix, it's a bit. He's a bit stuck that way. He starts to learn the truth from the people around him. Aboard this ship, there is a bunch of them. Do you know all their names? Trinity, Switch,
Tank, Dozer, Cipher,
Morpheus,
APOC,
Mouse,
and APOC.
Yeah, there we go. And two of them are natural born, which means they were born in the underbelly of Earth, weren't they?
Yes, they do not have any of their little plugs to be plugged into or plugged out of.
Yes. And that interesting. And what's that place called?
Zion.
Zion, that's it. Zion.
Which is typical of those damn Jews. Everything comes back to Nebuchadnezzar, Babylon. I can't be bothered going on with that. Yes, Zion. But Zion was a meeting place.
Yeah.
It was the mount, which was very important to... am I going to make it without... looking up, and I'm using my dusty old, because I went to a religious school when I'm going to grow up.
Yeah, me too.
And I'm going to try and conjure forth some knowledge about Zion. I think it is where Moses led his people to, from which he got the tablets of the Ten Commandments. Now I'm going to try and back that up with a quick Google.
Anyway, he learns that some of this stuff we've talked about before, that basically at some point in the early 21st century, there was a war between humans and these intelligent machines. Humans blocked out the machines' access to solar panels or solar energy by nuclear bombing the sky, because they thought that would stop the machines, but it didn't. And then the machines turned on the humans and harvested them as bioelectric power. So it kept them powered up. And what they did was they created this simulation world, the Matrix, which babies would be plugged into and have a stimulated reality modeled. And it would be somewhere around the 20th century, 1990, as you've stated, would be the simulation of the Matrix.
Okay, no, it's completely wrong. Zion is where Jerusalem was founded.
Okay.
But it's one of these things like a roaming lost people come and settle, and there we go.
So then from there, Neo learns that basically Morpheus and his crew are kind of a rebellious group. They kind of plug in and out of the Matrix, and their point is to try to unplug people and bring them back into the Matrix to help them with this war against the machines. They learn pretty quickly that you have to unplug people when they're younger, otherwise it's a bit too late.
Yes,
and in fact, Neo is a little bit too late in the age bracket. But Morpheus shows faith. And this, again, is that kind of... there's a bit of this religious connection, isn't it?
Do they originally plug him into to sort of... there's big white space.
There is,
and this is the construct where we load into before we go there. We can do whatever we like here.
Yeah.
Clothes and guns, training programs and so forth. And they sit down on the couches and show, this is the Matrix, 1990s
That's right.
Earth.
Yeah.
But this is what it really looks like, and it changes to the wasteland with a roiling blackened sky and devastated skyscrapers. And that's when they wake up from that, and Neo has a complete freak out.
Yes, he's freaking out by it all.
Yes, you are freaking out.
And he also they play the simulation where you need to jump off a building.
The jump. Oh, this was exciting because this is one of those hero tests, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like nobody's ever made on the first jump. What if he makes it?
What if he actually does? No one makes the first jump.
No one makes the first jump.
And he's told that if you die in the Matrix, you die in reality.
Yes.
Which is a good rule, right? It's a really clear rule.
And he doesn't make the jump.
No.
But the jump is not fatal.
No. He gets
But he does get a bit of blood in his mouth.
Yeah, and that's where he learns, because he comes out of that and goes, "Oh, I didn't make," and it's good because I think Mouse knows, didn't make the jump. What does that mean? It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, I mean, I'd be a bit surprised if he made the first jump.
They also come across these machines called Sentinels, which are kind of roaming the same place that this Nebuchadnezzar is roaming.
He's the king of Babylon.
Yeah, the king of Babylon. He's
mentioned in the Book of Kings and Book of Jeremiah or something like that.
Okay, all right. Someone out there that's really into all those history and religious texts could tell us, is it in the Bible or is it another thing? Let me know.
What makes me think it has something to do with drinking wine?
So he starts enjoying these loading programs. They basically there's a great moment where he's like, "Oh, I'm supposed to load you this sort of OH&S crap that we get.
Operations.
But, and he's throwing all those discs away. And he goes, let's get to some exciting stuff, And he goes, you want to learn Kung Fu? And so he starts like playing it, and it's cool, like, because he's like, zapped into his brain. And
we're hitting the fun and games right now, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. And so, of course, he's kind of learning all these things, and then he says to Morpheus, I know Kung Fu. And he goes, show me.
Yeah, show me.
And they load in, they have this awesome big choreographed fight that bends the rules of reality, doesn't it?
And it is utterly Hong Kong movie choreography. I mean, as I said, I watched this movie coming out of university, and I spent a lot of time at uni. SBS, one of our broadcasters, had their Saturday night cult movie night.
Yep.
And they did I don't know how long, a whole year maybe, of Hong Kong movies. And so I watched like all the Bruce Lee movies, watched a whole bunch of like Sammo Hung, Jackie Chan, Jet Li, Michelle Yeoh, and so on and so forth. And yeah, watching this then, seeing it in Hollywood was very exciting.
It was. And I mean, this particular fight scene, they really go at it. They're blowing each other, hard kicks.
Well, they're
blowing each other. Yeah, they are blowing each other. That's a different movie. Sorry, I was thinking that's a different Keanu Reeves movie. Sorry. Oh, and that's Keanu Reeves.
Keanu Reeves.
They're throwing fists one to each other. I can't speak now about that. I'm imagining.
Yes, so they're blowing each other and they're fisting, and what else are they doing exactly?
There's shoving.
There's a bit of shoving.
There's
penetrating,
grunting and groaning, and one's upside down at one point, and
as I said, it's very
pulls
exciting.
His tops off, all that sort of stuff. It's a great movie. Great movie, that one. But we should talk about The Matrix.
The Matrix, yes. So it's very stylized. It's a beautiful fight. And then Neo asks him, or not Neo, Morpheus says, and why can't you beat me?
Yeah.
He says, you're too fast, you're too strong. And he's huffing, and Morpheus is totally calm. He says, do you think that anything to do with my muscles or my speed has anything to do with what's going on inside this computer program?
Yeah.
And you can see Neo, he's a software developer. He sort of stops puffing and huffing and stops and goes, oh.
Make a good point.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Like, you don't have any muscles, and it's a computer program.
Yeah. And
so then they start up again.
Yeah.
And then everyone comes watching, and it's a really fast fight. They go, oh, pardon me, I haven't seen them go this fast. Oh, and they're going fast. And then he finally just about beats Morpheus.
I think he's about to hit him, right?
Yeah. And what does Morpheus say? Is something you won't win or something?
Well, he says, like I think he realizes then that, you're getting it. But then he's like, he does torture him by saying, you think that's air you're breathing?
Yes.
He's like, oh.
And they come out of the training program, which is really good.
It is good fun. That's the fun and games of it. But Morpheus does then think that he's believing that he's the one. Yeah.
Oh, and this is where old Trinity takes Neo some food.
He does.
In the morning, because and Cypher comes up and says, "You never took me any food when I first arrived," which I thought was super creepy. There's something it's creepy about a guy with that sort of facial hair.
It is, yeah.
Like,
and they're married. They were married in real life. Those two.
Oh, were they?
Actors. Yeah.
And so anyone out there with facial hair like Cypher's, understand it's a bit creepy looking. I mean, unless you're a mortician
or
you can get away with that.
A barber? You probably maybe it's a barber.
Or maybe you run a boutique sausage shop.
But that was the point, right? Cypher was a bit dodgy the whole way through.
He was
very cynical the whole way.
From the rest of the characters.
Yeah, he was very different. He was cynical. He wasn't quite. It didn't seem like he was fitting in. And she does. She take in because she's starting to. It feels like she's the B story. She's got a bit of a love thing going on with Neo. There's a bit of a thing going on there.
They mentioned the Oracle here.
Yeah.
When's he going to take him to the Oracle? And she goes, "Oh, when he's ready."
Yeah. Yeah. So this is where we cut to Cypher has this steak in this fancy restaurant with Agent Smith.
Oh, gee, that steak looks good.
It does. And they're basically going to do a deal. And Agent Smith wants the codes to Zion. And he says, well, I can't get you that, but I can get you Morpheus. But Cypher's the one that's talking all through this. And he says he wants to return to the Matrix and forget the truth.
Yeah, I don't want to remember any of this stuff.
I don't remember any of this. I want to come back.
Takes a few choosing as, and I want to be like someone rich, someone important, like an actor. Which no doubt all the actors are going,
Yes. I think they might have just chucked that line in for them, which was great. But it's good because what is that? That's a saboteur in there, isn't it? Yeah?
Yes.
So it's cool, a sabotage amongst their ranks. So they they go back into the Matrix and they're going to visit the Oracle. And this is where Cypher kind of sets the plan in action to kind of set them up.
Chucks his phone in the bin. We see him do that. And when Neo and Morpheus are going to the Oracle in the elevator, Neo's like, yeah, but I don't think, dude, I'm not really up for being the one. And he's like, don't talk to me about that. The Oracle will have Wait until you talk to the Oracle.
Yeah, the Oracle will have that. Whatever the Oracle says, that's top stuff.
Join me on my spaceship.
Yeah, and he goes in anyway. And he goes into this room, and there's all these little Buddhist kids, and this is what's so fascinating about this film. Like there's this kid, and they're bending. One of them's bending a spoon.
Yes, which is a classic Uragella.
Yeah.
It's an odd psychic power to have.
It is a very...
That's what always got me when the psychics demonstrated spoon bending. You still look at that going, that must obviously be a trick because that's just not the way skills or abilities work. Why on earth would you have the one power to bend spoons?
Like, what's the point?
Nothing else. You can't do anything else. No. Just bend spoons.
But I guess they're kids, right? So they're learning how
evolutionarily.
To bend over time.
How would that help anyone?
Yeah,
but the little monk kid, he's got the spoon and it warps down and comes back up, and he hands it to Neo.
Yeah,
and Neo says, "How do you do that?" This is the secret with a strong Australian accent to this kid in the monk clothes. The secret is to realise. There is no spoon. Cut to Neil Marshall's movie Dog Soldiers. Yeah. That's the only scene I remember from that movie, actually. I've got to say. It was just stuck with me. Yeah. And sure enough, Neo sort of looks at it and he tips his head to the side.
He tips his head. So.
And the spoon, again, we get reflections.
Yeah.
Strong reflections. It reflects back to the other kid. And then it's your time to go in.
Yeah. And he goes in and the Oracle's... She's an old African American lady, and she's in an old kitchen. You notice that, and she's baking cookies.
And this is the trope of the magical native, I think it's called.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? And so it's very stereotypical. And she says to him something like, don't apologize.
Yeah, don't worry about the vase.
Don't apologize over the vase. And he says, what vase? And as he says that, he kind of turns and he knocks his vase over. And she's like, that one, yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I told you not to worry about it.
Not to apologize. So it sort of shows that she has power. But then she does say that same thing that you and I were joking about at the start, which is she says, what's going to really bake your noodle, Neo, is if I hadn't have said anything, would you have knocked the vase?
Yeah.
And it's like, for crying out loud, yeah.
No, we'll not think about that.
Anyway, so she sits down and she's got a cigarette as well.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. And then she says, well, Morpheus has been filling your head with all sorts of stuff. But the thing is, if you're the one, you kind of know that you're the one. And he's like, oh. And she goes, so I better, do you get my drift? And he's like, yeah, I do. Okay, I'm not the one. And she goes, well,
I think she even says, you're not the. I can't remember what it was. You're not the one now.
Yeah, because then she goes, right, I better examine you. So she examines him, and she goes, his head, and she goes, oh, interesting. You better look him because of Trinity. I can see what she sees in you. But then she looks at him, she goes, yeah, and then she says to him, which is really clever, that because she doesn't actually answer the question. What she does is she goes, well, then I'm supposed to say, and he goes, oh, that I'm not the one. And she goes, yeah, sorry, kid. You're not the one.
That's
in
what
this
it is.
time, you've got the skills, but you're not quite ready. Something's holding you back.
Yeah, something's holding you back.
Another act.
Yeah,
that's what's holding you back.
And then you haven't discovered yourself
if
yet.
we end the film now, it's still got another half an hour to go.
Yeah,
right?
if we were to say, you are the one, and
go
then
out there and just kill agents.
Off you go. Yeah,
it'd be too easy.
But then she also then says, Morpheus is going to. You're going to have to make the choice.
Yes.
Morpheus is going to sacrifice his life for you.
Yeah.
Or you can sacrifice yourself
yeah.
for Morpheus.
Yeah.
And he goes, oh, and don't worry. By the time you walk out here and eat the cookie, I think he says, I think I say biscuit, but
cool.
Americans will hear me say biscuit and go, what are you talking about? That wasn't a biscuit, it was a cookie. A biscuit's like a weird scone.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't use the word scone. They'd say it's a biscuit. Strange. But so he walks out, and sure enough, he eats his biscuit, and Morpheus immediately jumps up and says, don't tell me what she said.
Don't tell me what she said.
Like the wish won't come true.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's fair enough. He's a believer. He doesn't want to hear anything that may confirm.
He's a believer, right? He's a believer. So belief comes back around. So they leave out and they head back to their Frankenstein village place, I think again. And as they're heading there, Mouse rings them, I think, or on the wire or whatever it is. I think it's on the flip phones. He's saying, there's a bit of weird activity going on. Doesn't he? He notices
something strange going on.
Yeah, and then Mouse is like, and he turns and opens the windows, and the windows aren't windows anymore; they're bricked up.
Well, you've missed the deja vu.
Sorry, yeah.
They're walking up,
yeah,
and Neo stops and looks back. There's a black cat, hisses and stretches and walks on, and then he sort of looks, and the black cat comes and hisses and walks on. And he goes, "Whoa, deja vu!" And everyone on the stairs immediately turns and goes, "What did you see?" Oh, no, it's just
like a cat.
Two black cats walk past. Was it a second black cat or was it the same black cat? Well, it could have been.
Yeah.
Oh, what's going on? And so they call.
That's right, they call Mouse up.
And then Mouse goes, not Mouse, Dozer, Tank, the controller. And he goes, and he gets,
back
they
on the
go,
thing.
snip,
Yeah.
and the hard line is cut. And that's when they sort of say, the hard lines, they call Mouse. They say, give me your phone to Cypher. And Cypher sort of goes through his pockets, because he doesn't have his phone.
Yeah, he doesn't have his phone anymore.
But Trinity hands the phone over first.
Yeah.
Calls up Mouse, who's upstairs, and says, they've cut the hard lines.
That's right, yeah.
They're coming in. And, sure enough, Mouse pulls out a couple of useless pop guns that he A-teams for no reason.
But there's that great moment, he opens the curtains, there's all bricked walls, he's like, and he grabs these big,
Yeah, see, this is one of those 18 moments where I was dissatisfied because he's got he opens the box, it's full of bullets and guns. Yeah, it's all as a teenage boy watching this, you're like going, ah. And he picks up these two, the weird-ass looking guns with circular thingos around it. And he
just starts firing.
Yeah, the guys come in and he does nothing, and he just gets shot. And like, it was just, I just wanted to... Because on the other hand, though, the chase scene which kicks off from this, and they sort of run, and Cypher gets separated, taken away or whatever, but miraculously escapes. Yeah. And there's a chase, and they run. There's a point where they get through the wet wall, the wet wall, and they go down, and Cypher kicks the dust, and they sneeze, and then they shoot, and Morpheus goes, oh, and jumps through and wrestles with the agent while everyone else shoots down the bottom, and cops come pouring in just like they did with Mouse. Yeah. But they just come out and go, pew, 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 and the cops like are shooting uselessly, and they just kill all the cops and go, but Mouse, really? Yeah. He couldn't have like, I reckon I would have much preferred it had he like gotten a couple
and then taken
and then like tried to find cover, but there's just nowhere to go and he gets shot out. Yeah. I felt slightly cheated that he had these weird ass guns, and I wanted to see him do something.
Yes, fair enough. Fair enough. There's your gripe. There's your one gripe.
But on the other hand, though, Mouse was a little youngster, and he was not super tough or hard.
He had a big role on Home and Away for many years there as
did he?
Damien. So, yeah.
I wonder if he met Dan Ewing.
It was many years before the Dan Ewing.
It would have been actually probably while Dan Ewing was
back in like 1995. And anyway, just to it was the same with the chick with the white rabbit. She was a Home and Away character, I think, for many years. She might know Dan actually. Not that I'm into Home and Away, but I was when I was a teenage boy. I watched a bit of it, so starting the process. But there's a great moment there that they are in this hidden wall, and Cypher sneezes or whatever, and Morpheus, he sacrificed himself, right? He's to keep Neo, save Neo,
and Neo goes, no,
like I was just, and Trinity kind of takes him out, and the Cypher's kind of saved and can get back to the ship through another phone.
Yeah, through the phone, a hard line in the repair shop or something.
Yeah, so he gets back to the ship and then immediately starts terminating the other...
Yeah, and it has this whole monologue thing.
Yeah.
Where he goes around APOC and Switch, and then he's like, there's Neo, if I pull Neo... Because he's already shot Tank and Dozer with an electric gun. If I pull Neo, if he's really the one, then something miracle will happen. I won't be able to pull him. Yeah. And then, of course, Tank shoots him and blows Cypher away, which I have a feeling does indicate to Trinity that, something did just happen.
Save him,
but not so much for Neo.
No.
And then they have this big talk, and you go, just get on the damn phone. Have this conversation back on the ship.
Yeah.
And Trinity goes, and then Neo has to leave. Oh,
he comes back.
He comes back, that one.
Yeah, it's later.
Well, he's fighting the subway.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay,
Yeah. So so in this one, he gets on the phone.
He comes back. So, isn't it funny? I just watched this last night and still can't remember it.
So, Morpheus is captured. And Neo and Cypher is killed, and that we've said all that.
Yeah, so they're back on the ship there, and they indicate that Morpheus is having his brain attacked, hacked, and it's just a matter of time for they get the codes to Zion. Every ship's captain has, which to me would have said no ship's captain is allowed in the Matrix.
Yeah,
ever.
Yeah,
under any circumstance.
Just keep them. Yeah.
So that would have been a safety protocol for sure. Alternatively, don't leave the codes with the captain. No. Leave them in some sort of encrypted locker on board the ship, which anyone left over can get at in order to be able to return to Zion.
That's right.
Through some emergency protocol.
Yep.
But anyway, that aside.
This is where they cut to that whole scene I was talking about earlier. He's being interrogated by the agent, especially Agent Smith, takes the earpiece out.
And Sonny's off.
Sonny's off, you're a virus. And then he actually starts squeezing his head. Tell me.
Juicing him, I've got to get out of here.
I know. What is that all about?
Save me.
I'm only here because of you morsel pain in the butts. And then this is where back on the ship, they say, well, we're going to have to terminate Morpheus because he doesn't, he's dying anyway, and he's going to give away the codes. And so Trinity agrees to that. Tank is going to pull out the plug, because you just die if that's the case. And Neo said at the last minute says, no, I was given this choice from the Oracle. I'm not the one.
She said this would happen.
Which Trinity's like, what? I'm supposed to be with the one. Sure, I've been giving you a bit of stuff on the side, and you're not the one again.
And by stuff we mean a little extra of that slop porridge.
Yes, that's right.
Which is what she calls her breakfast tray as she brings in.
Sorry.
Ooh, that was close. Save that one. Slop porridge. Hey, Neo, check out my slop porridge.
That would be rather tasty, mind you.
It's time. As you said, he thinks it tastes a bit like Tasty Wits.
That's right, Tasty Wits.
Tasty Wits. But he makes a good point of how do the AI know what anything tastes like anyway?
Yeah, like what if they thought chicken tastes like Weet-Bix?
Yeah.
Sloppy Weet-Bix thing.
Yeah,
Weet-Bix.
That was actually one of those little philosophical statements which really blew my mind. Was like, they could have just made up the taste and programmed us to say it tastes like beef.
Yeah, that's right.
Like, breaks the brain.
It does. And so so Neo's going to go in. He goes, no, my path is here. I'm not the one, but I've got a chance. We should save Morpheus.
It's almost as if he's choosing Act 3.
He is almost choosing it, right? And Trinity is impressed by this, that she says, no, I'm coming with you, and as your ranking officer, I'm coming, right? So they've got an action. How are we going to do it? We need guns. And so they put them in that...
Lots of guns.
They put them into that simulation. This would be something that 80s Arnie would be happy with. Stands in that white room, and these guns just come flying in, don't they? So it's a cool kind of effect.
It's kind of a bit pointless to have so many guns.
I know, I don't really get
a big
it,
library of guns, but anyway, there you go.
Yeah, and couldn't you program a gun that, never runs out of bullets?
Well, they have certain rules they have to follow in the Matrix.
That's true, isn't it? Yeah, okay, maybe not. All right,
I'm sure their guns never jam, for example.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Right, so anyway, that's for a whole nother podcast, I think. So they go in and they land on top... No, sorry, they go in at the ground floor of this huge skyscraper in their black... look that they had. Neo has now really encompassed that sort of look.
He's got his superhero costume.
He's got his superhero costume, and Trinity looks the way she does. She's super Trinity, and they go through this security checkpoint at the bottom of the thing, and he drops this huge bag down, which is full of guns. It goes through the X-ray.
He books it. I'm going to have to search you here. Can you take any metal objects?
Yeah.
And he pulls his coat back, and it's just
covered in guns.
Strapped with guns.
And the guy's like,
what the hell? Yeah.
And they just start firing, and it's an interesting thing, isn't it? Because they just literally start obliterating anyone and everything.
Yeah, it's really quite mean when you think about it.
Yeah, it is, because these guys are just people.
But in the Matrix world, they're fodder for the machines.
That's right, they are.
I don't know. It's one of those sort of morality situations where if you were to really think about it, you sort of go, this is just a horrendous murder cycle. Like, what the hell? You can't just go in there and just murder all these people for just standing there doing their job.
Yeah.
But
they do.
You can get away with it because that's the type of movie it
game,
is.
Yeah.
It's basically a computer game.
Yeah, and this scene is so far-fetched, over-the-top action.
Oh, there's cartwheels running up walls.
And it's so cool because, they're firing these machine guns, they're running up the walls, there's pillars, but everything is tiled, and these tiles are just shattering everywhere. It's a very
you know what I loved
effect.
about this is these pillars were being chewed apart by the guns.
By the bullets.
That's what actually happens, not the little pating, pating, pating.
Yeah, that's right.
And so I, as a little nerd boy, I'm sort of going, finally, someone actually showing what assault weaponry would do to tiled concrete pillars. It rips them apart. None of this hiding, because they're hiding behind it, and there's being chewed away from them, and they've got to move. They can't just stay there.
No, that's right. And Trinity does her flying kick things, and Neo does as well, and they snap some necks and all this sort of stuff. And there's this world of destruction. There's a great little bit of comedy that at the end of it, the two of them stand there, survey it, and then like some of the pillars just slide away, just crumble. And they hop into the elevator very sophistically. She rips off the roof. He sets the bomb, or is it the other way around or whatever?
Yeah.
They jump up into the top of the elevator. This is a real little homage to Kanawa's other movie, Speed.
Oh, is it?
And because it's pretty much the opening of Speed, he's doing the opposite. He's deactivating a bomb in an elevator shaft.
It's been a long time.
But anyway, so he jumps up there and with Trinity, it's a very epic moment, isn't it? Like he looks at it and he goes, "There is no spoon."
Yes.
He fires the elevator and one of the rods, and so the elevator just drops a little bit. Fires another one. There is no spoon. And they go flying up, and this elevator sinks to the bottom and explodes on that ground floor.
Yeah, I'm not sure why they did that.
Just to cause mass destruction.
It was very cool. The fire alarm went off there, and the water came down. This is when the two agents come in on the interrogation, and Smith kind of looks a bit surprised.
Yeah.
And they look at each other, the Agent Smith,
he doesn't have
Brown
his
and whatever it is. He doesn't know. What? And he puts his earpiece back in and puts his glasses back on,
straight
becomes
away.
one of the agents again. He's no longer human, humanized.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to call it, anthropomorphized.
Well, yeah,
and then he stands up, and then he suddenly realizes what's going on.
Yeah,
and
so then they're on, and it cuts to they're on the roof and they're beating up other guards, and then this is where we get one of those moments that the Agent Smith morphs into the pilot or something. I think
it wasn't Smith. It was like Brown or something.
Yeah, one of the others.
Agent Brown and Agent Jones.
And when he does that, then he starts firing on Neo, and Neo then bends back, doesn't he?
Well, he fires at him first.
Yeah.
And the agent is too fast because they said can't shoot him; they're too fast.
And
we see the example. You just sort of see this
blur,
multiple images of him blah, 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 and
dodging bullets.
Yeah, so you go, okay, you can't shoot these guys, and then the agent
starts shooting at Neo,
and then Neo does. Again, this is one of those scenes that has been ripped so many times that if this was the first time you're watching it now, you'd be going, "Oh, this scene, God!"
But this is where it came from.
This is it. This is the original and the best.
Yes,
and he's sort of flipping his hands back, and it was just
kind of bends back. It's very sort of inhuman the way he bends himself back, and these bullets we see these bullets in such slow motion, like them rippling the air.
Yeah, you see the shock waves of them.
Yeah.
And again, first time when I was watching this in the cinema, this was just like, another cool thing. Because we had the opening kick with the spinning camera.
Yeah.
And then we had the fight scenes, which were highly choreographed. And the one downstairs in the lobby just upped it again with cartwheels and running on walls and
destruction.
And then they have this, he flies back. We get that same slow motion rotating camera deal with bullets. It was just absolutely astonishing.
Trinity watches and she's super impressed because she's thinking, "Wow, no one else has done this." But then, and it's great because he's doing all the slow motion stuff, and one bullet grazes his leg, and the instant of it comes back to real time, which is a great little piece of jumping on the editing.
And then Trinity, gun to the agent's head.
Yeah, the agent comes up and puts the gun to Neo's head.
And Trinity says,
"Dodge this.
Dodge this." And if the whole audience in the Blaze Cinema does not cheer at that point, ba-doom, when the agent goes flying off.
So you're like, she killed an agent,
But then, of course, you see the guards downstairs, and they become...
And because that was the whole thing. There's that moment you're like, I was thinking, when she does it to him, why haven't they killed agents like that? But it's like, no, you can't even kill them. They just transfer bodies.
Yeah.
Even after you kill them.
You've just killed that
You just killed that particular guy. You're like, so you really can't kill the bastards.
Yeah, but that was just a fantastic one-liner.
It was
moment.
Yeah.
And the whole cinema, you could feel it.
Yeah.
There wasn't cheering because, we're in Australia. We don't cheer in cinemas. That's crazy. But you got that feeling of everyone, you hear little comments of people going, just exclamations.
And it's a great upping of the scale towards the climax, isn't it? Because it's like, he can kind of shift himself like an agent, but no, he gets hit, so he's not quite as good as them. And then, we can't kill the agents. Trinity's just killing one. Yay. oh no, they can just morph. Oh, how do you kill these guys then? You know, so it's like raising the stakes towards that climax, isn't it? It's like Morpheus is a little bit better, but the actual now showing us how powerful the agents are, and they're more powerful. So
they jump this. They've got this great helicopter
on top of the building.
Yeah, they hover down, and the gun comes out.
Yep.
And he just blasts in there, and there's glass shattering and water splashing, and there's the sprinklers are on, and the agents are shooting fearlessly, of course, and they get wiped out, and they of course blur into some guards out in another hallway and start coming
Morpheus in. And he like yells at Morpheus to stand up, and Morpheus with his handcuffs stands up, snaps them, runs through this waterlogged building towards this flying helicopter.
Smith shoots through the wall
and Smith's
in slow
like,
motion.
no!
Gadoosh.
You see these bullets coming through, which is so cool. And one like gets his leg, so trips him at that last moment. And Neo's like, he's not going to make it. Jumps for him.
Clips his rope on, jumps out, catches him. They have a little cuddle.
Catches him midair.
A little careful.
She takes off.
Oh, isn't that nice?
But then Smith starts firing at the helicopter as they take off. And of course, fuel starts going out.
Oil or something.
And he's got Morpheus, doesn't he? And so Trinity's like, losing control of the helicopter. And so he can drop Morpheus from a great height. But, they know how to land, know how to play the Matrix. So he does. And then he comes down on top of this building, and the helicopter's falling out of the sky. And he goes to the ledge, and he just wraps the whole thing around him. And it's really epic, isn't it? This helicopter's coming in to crash. And
pretty gutsy, expecting
Trinity to be able to, but also expecting, he was thinking he's going to hold on to the helicopter.
Well, that's what I thought.
Yeah. But then Trinity gets out and fires that rope and grabs it. And Morpheus is watching the whole time. He's like, and Trinity jumps out of the helicopter as it crashes into the building.
Oh, crap. Helicopter explosion against the glass.
Yeah. And
I was watching the making of this, and they're saying that was... They didn't really have many chances to get this right, to get the concentric circles, but it worked. And the scene of Trinity, they weren't sure... she's supposed to swing and crash like she does. They weren't sure if they're going to be able to get it, because I don't think they could reset and just do this take over and over. Yeah. But as it just so happened, because that's a stunt double there, swinging. Yeah. But as it happened, she sort of had twisted around, and her arm and the rope was perfectly in front of her face, so that when she crashed into the wall, into the glass, it was a perfect shot. And they said, so we just took that one. So, it was quite possibly we may not have had that little shot. Yeah. Or seen.
And it's so cool when the helicopter hits that it actually, like, the building bends. The glass, like it's a bit, it almost feels like that's not how it should look, and it makes that noise, and it's, woo, and then he like yanks Trinity up, and it's very epic, coming up, making him look like a huge giant, and Morpheus like, he's the one.
He's the one. I'm not sure.
And we all feel it, don't we? We all feel it. Like, we're all like, yeah, he's the one.
He's pretty cool.
I knew he was the one.
I'm not sure how that proved it, but, okay, we're pretty sure
it was epic, man.
Well, we know he is. It would have been a pretty bad movie. Turns out at the end he gets shot and dies.
So then they're running to get out of the Matrix.
Yeah.
At the same time, Sentinels start attacking the spaceship.
Yeah, because we've got to up the ante a little bit.
We do.
Get the stakes going. And he's got ready with the pulse.
Yeah, that's right. He's getting ready. But this pulse will kill all of them, so they've got to get to a phone.
Because Trinity, Morpheus goes out. Trinity goes out.
Yep.
And then Neo is like, no, I'll be okay. You go.
They destroy the phone, don't they?
They destroy the phone just after they shoot a tool through the phone box.
Yep.
Just after Trinity goes, and he goes, okay, no.
Oh, it's one of those moments, but isn't it? It's like, just get on the phone and go. He has a big I love you.
Yeah, they're looking at each other. So I was told that I was going to love the one, but he'd be dead or something.
Why don't you just do that back on the ship, Why don't you just get back on the ship?
Yeah, I know. And I was like, get on the goddamn ship. What are you doing?
And there's a cool, homeless man. It's watching them. And then, the subway train comes through and it's Agent Smith. It's so cool that. I reckon that's so cool how they do
it. And this is here where we get the meetup we wanted to see, because we saw Morpheus fight Agent and got trounced.
Yeah.
But we've seen Neo, first of all, was just slightly better, had the edge on Morpheus in the fight training.
Yeah.
And then has
And then
grown.
now
We've seen him
he can
progress.
bend a bit.
And now you're going, okay, now I want to see this fight.
Yes.
And the fight goes on, and it's pretty even.
Yeah.
And just at the last minute, he gets hit by, the agent gets, left in front of a train after trying to throw Neo in front of the train. But of course, the agent just then gets off the train.
But in that fight, he does smash his sunglasses, and he's like, "Oh, you son of a bitch! You made it personal."
Yeah, well, that is interesting, because that was his symbol.
Yeah.
When he had the sunglasses and the earpiece in, he was just an agent.
Yeah.
And he acted just like an agent. But when he took those off,
Yeah, he could become
then
more
he
personal.
was like, he had that glasses off and they're smashed.
Yeah.
He was getting angry.
Yes.
Which was not what the other agents were doing. So
When he comes off the subway after being killed, and he's not killed, he comes as fresh agent.
Yeah.
He's got the glasses back on.
he
With the
chugs
suit.
his suit, gets a bit of it, and Neo, of course, goes, oh, shit, and runs
crap.
for it.
Yeah. So he's running through Chinatown, and the agent is like jumping from person to person, firing guns at him and stuff. And he grabs the phone of someone. Did you see it? When he grabs the phone, and he's like, you got to get me out of here. And it's like the guy's like, and then he turns and he's the agent. It's really a cool moment. So they tell him that there's a phone somewhere.
There's an old phone.
Yeah.
And in fact, I believe that is the one from the first...
Start?
Is it from the start or from where he took his pills? Because they went up
maybe.
that same
Yeah, I think the pills.
stairs.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he heads on up, and Agent Smith sees the name of the hotel as being the same one.
Yeah.
And so, goes to shortcut him, basically.
Yes, he does.
And successfly shortcuts him.
Yeah.
Oh, I think it's the one that Trinity escapes through.
Yeah, I think it
That's
was.
the one.
Yeah.
Trinity escaped out of that one. Yes, at the start. So, and shortcuts him, and he hears the phone ring. It's 303. It's on your right, and he kicks it open, steps in, and there's Agent Smith.
Yeah.
He just goes kablamo.
Yeah.
And that was really cool.
Yeah.
Was it not? That was very cool, because you're expecting, he's going to dodge. He's like, no, he just got shot.
Yeah.
And then bang, 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 bang. And
made sure he's dead.
And I remember watching that going, how do they get out of this?
Yeah, I know.
Like, does he crawl over to the phone at the last minute or what? But no, he sort of was watching himself die in the Matrix. And at that point, I don't think he could believe that he would die.
Yeah.
And so there was no spoon. He could see himself dying. He'd see the numbers. And
but he does die. I think he does die because then back on the ship,
his heart goes off.
His heart goes off, and there's blood trickling out of his mouth. And Trinity's like, "No, you were the one. I believed in you."
Yes,
and it goes on for quite some time.
She was told that he was going to die.
Yeah, she's like, "You're the one." And this is a bit that
Neo was told he was going to die too. So
this is a bit that has received a fair bit of criticism. Is that suddenly Trinity is like the girl that has to kiss him to bring him back to life.
Yeah, it's a bit fairy tale.
Yeah, a bit fairy tale. But she does, and she kisses him, and more importantly tells him...
It's a nice switch of roles, though.
Yeah.
It's not the prince.
It is, yeah.
It's the princess, if that's the appropriate...
Yeah, and she tells him to get on with the job, which is a good woman thing to do to a man. No, come on, stop this. What? You've been shot a few times? Wake up. You're all right. And he does. He gets up.
Okay.
And just as Agent Smith's walking away going, that takes care of that.
You're right. I am a bit lazy, sorry.
He's like, no, I'm back. Dude, you shot me 8 times. And all the agents are like, okay, all right, well, let's just unload on him. Bang, 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 gangster stuff. And
he doesn't dodge.
No, he just...
He holds his hands up, calculates the numbers, and the bullets stop.
And we see... The bullet stop, that's right. Yeah, with the bullet stop, and then he even just drops them, doesn't he?
Yeah.
So he stops their movement. And then we see what he sees, which is zeros and ones.
Yeah.
Which is the Matrix. And so Agent Smith is like, oh, come on. And he runs at him.
Runs up to fight him. And this is so good, because this is that moment where this is the payoff.
Yeah.
Where everyone's waiting, and there's always this tension of the zappy things trying to break in, and then the tension of him getting shot and all those sort. And now we get that fantastic payoff where Smith, who was, kicking his ass fairly hardly, he goes punch, 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 and sort of blocking with one arm. In fact, turns sideways and puts the other arm behind his back.
Has the little coffee and a martini.
Blocks, and then just turns around and goes kapadushka, and shoots this guy backwards. He goes flying back, stumbles onto the ground,
and he gets up surprised, right?
Stands up and says, "What the hell happened?"
Yeah.
That's the look on his face. He doesn't say that. What the hell happened, Mr.
What surprise? What?
Anderson? and then Mr. Anderson then does a running dive
into him,
which is very surprising.
Yeah.
The other two agents are looking, going, "What?"
Yeah. And just
Mr.
pulls
Agent
him
Smith
apart from the inside, body parts.
Explodes scanner style and just goes... You even get a little shot of his face.
Right.
And the other two agents kind of look at each other and go, "Oh,
let's get out of here."
And they fucking freak out.
They do.
And, we sort of...
And then he wakes up on the ship.
Yeah.
And Trinity and him have a moment.
Yeah.
And then we have Neo back in the Matrix on an old telephone speaking to the Matrix.
With a bit of rage, like a Rage Against the Machine, very big.
And he says
90s.
that, promising the machines that he will show show their prisoners a world where anything is possible.
And it was a phone tracing, which is the very start of the film as well.
But it stops.
And it freezes, rather than counting down like it did with Trinity, it just freezes. He's broken it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then he flies.
And he flies out. That was just a...
And cue Rage Against the Machine, Wachowski brothers come up. It's like, whoa. You got to be happy. I've been eating my popcorn. I'm happy.
Yes, what an amazing film, full of so many great little moments, scenes, the lighting, the way it progressed, absolutely fantastic.
So what is the Matrix, Surrey? What does it symbolize?
The Matrix. Well, this is interesting because some philosophers have put forward the concept that we are in a simulation.
Yeah, we are.
But it could also just simply symbolize the constraining worldviews that we hold whilst living without having that mindful appreciation of how the world interacts and how we react to it.
Yeah, and this film reminds me of that Smashing Pumpkins song, like, are we still rats in the cage? Spite of my rage, am I still just a rat in the cage? And that's what this film made me think. It was interesting. I did not see this film at the cinemas because I was getting the impression from everyone that this was a big special effects Hollywood bonanza film. And I was...
You were well above that.
I was a film university student into my 60s and 70s purist indie kind of filmmaking. I didn't want to look at a big Hollywood spectacular. A couple of years after it had already been out and the rave reviews and the box office hits and them talking about sequels and all this sort of stuff, and a lot of people kept saying to me, no, it's actually a good film. I was sort of twisted into watching it. I did watch it, and as soon as I watched it, to me, The Matrix symbolized, beyond that stuff we were talking about at the start, all the big questions, it reminded me of that Smashing Pumpkins. So it made me feel like maybe we're in the Matrix. Or, no, we are in the Matrix. We are in the Matrix. We are our own prisoners at time. We are, like you and I talk about this even as kind of people that are trying to be creatives when you have to work 9 to 5 for a job. It's almost that, this film is almost even that, right? Like if you believed you were the one, if you thought you were the best-selling science fiction fantasy author, you would just give up on that world and focus on the
Well, I've been taking
taking
red pills. They keep me up all night.
Yeah, that's the problem with the red pills.
That's the wrong bit. No,
I've been taking too many blue pills. I just keep waking up, can't remember what I did yesterday. But I felt like, this world this film again, like it has another, it's like an onion. Like there's even another layer there that you could say, we are in the Matrix. We all put up with the Matrix. We don't question society. We're not punks anymore. We just say, yes, sir, yes, sir. And I'm not talking about the crazy conspiracy theories, people out there saying, the COVID vaccine is a government, blah, blah, blah. I'm just saying that we put the Matrix program on ourselves.
Well, that's what social media is. In many ways, is we radicalize ourselves.
Yeah.
Well, in all directions.
But so does the school system.
People,
all systems do this.
People, yeah, and we do it to ourselves.
We do it to ourselves, right?
Here's a funny one: is things like supermarkets. People complain, the supermarkets waste so much food that they only put the most perfect food up on display.
The banana thing, right?
And I've had to explain to a few people, actually, that's us doing that. That's not... The big corporations aren't in some sort of conspiracy to waste food or something. They're just responding to our requirements.
Yeah.
If you put in all of the bananas and some of them are perfect, pristine, beautiful copies and some are like gross, well, they all cost the same. You're going to choose the beautiful, pristine ones.
Yeah.
And the shopkeeper will go, well, I keep having to throw out this stuff because you guys aren't buying it. Well,
so
I'm
all
not
I want to order is the
I'm not going to buy that.
Yeah.
I'm going to get this particular shape which works really well.
Yep.
And then we go down this path where everyone has to grow the one banana and it has to be this size. It has to be this shade of green or can't have this many blemishes. And then so there's a huge wastage and we end up with monocultures and worse nutrition and so forth because we're doing it to ourselves. And exactly, it's pointed out in the Matrix here where he says the first iteration of the Matrix was like heavenly. It was paradise. You had all of your needs taken care of, your like living, but you like broke it.
Yeah.
You could not deal. You rejected that reality.
Yeah, well, the babies didn't survive, right? Like they all died. They rejected that.
And so we put you here.
We invented this shitty 19...
in the 90s, where like the peak of your civilization, and I say your civilization because as soon as you made us, it became our civilization. But yeah, and that's that. You make struggle for yourself, and it's true these days. Like we had this lockdown, for example. Now, quite sensibly, we could just go, okay, there is this disease floating about the place, and even if it wasn't that disease, if it's the flu, whatever it is, it would be sensible to, put on the mask because that reduces the spread, reduce contact, don't go into places and so forth, and we can get it done. But still, people reject that. It's too, that's too orderly. It's too convenient. It's too perfect.
Yeah.
And they no, I'm not a sheep.
Yeah.
I'm going to do something totally outrageous. You can't control me.
Yeah.
And then they actually just make life worse for everyone.
Yeah.
But that's human nature. This is not them being a bad person. Yeah. This is them being a good human. Yeah. This is exactly what humans do all the damn time. Not me, of course. I'm perfect.
You've got that. People do that, and they're pains in the butt, really. I mean, we saw it when the Melbourne lockdown happened. Like, there was people literally deliberately going to the police checkpoints to waste their time.
Yes. And
refusing to give ID over because that is against our constitution sort of idea, which is not true.
But that's a strange concept.
Yeah, I know, sure. But they were making those stupid arguments, right? But they were literally intending to make the police officers have more work than what they already had, because they were so anti wearing a mask or anti, you can't say even with us at the moment, you can't leave Perth and Peel, right? Unless it's for work or something. It's like, they'll say, no, you can't do that to me. Yeah. I can cross that barrier.
And that's that human nature of, there'll always be someone that wants to rebel against the order. So the Matrix, they had to make it not oppressive and unpleasant. It had to be that way. So
not perfect.
It fit because as soon as you made it all beautiful, you can imagine. I could imagine the scene. Actually, you put all the humans in some sort of idyllic farmland or beach setting, depending on their personal preference, whatever. And everything's nice. There's no taxes. They don't have to work. There's food in abundance, and it's easy living. There would be someone there who would go and set fire to the forest that we all lived in just because, God damn it, why is this so easy? You would have that. And in a way, it breaks down society. But on the other hand, it's one of those fundamental struggles as humans we have to face.
It's interesting. You're questioning my understanding then a little bit, because I'm thinking that the film is saying to me, we might already cause ourselves to be in a matrix, but you're saying maybe a little bit of we kind of need a matrix to be actually happy.
Oh, yeah, the human condition requires that we have
we can't have it quite right.
Something to rebel against.
Yeah.
Maybe, because if we didn't,
if we did believe in ourselves and we went and followed our dreams, it wouldn't be enough anyway, so we might as well have it a little bit shitty, and then the dream is actually stronger.
Yes. Because, and I hate to go back to it, but
we are sociopaths.
Back in December 2019, when COVID was starting to get talked about, had we as a humanity here, and no particular people, had we as a humanity gone, oh, okay, let's all put this to rest, and we all did the right thing. Every nation, every nation stopped all air travel, and everyone voluntarily, kept themselves for a couple of weeks or whatever. COVID would have disappeared in, let's call it 2 weeks till everyone who had been infected would be known, and then a month after that,
if every single human went into a self-isolated and
well, not even that extreme, but if we'd all done the right thing, whatever that may or may not have been,
maybe within a month or
but within 6 weeks, COVID would have been another extinct disease that just went nowhere, and then we'd all be on our way. But here we are, a year and a half or a year and 3 months later, still having the repercussions, because as humans we don't work that way, but we have been so successful on Earth as a species, probably because we don't do it. Because there's risk,
disrupt.
But there's reward.
Right?
There's risk and reward in all of these behaviours.
Yeah, and we have to go off there and believe that we are the ones.
Where there's tragedy somewhere, there's opportunity somewhere else. So I don't know.
It's interesting, isn't it? Okay, what about onto your ladder? So this is obviously a classic ladder. For me, this is a really tough one. I lean this one into being my top, and then I don't because of Space Odyssey. So I think I'm sliding it into my number 2.
I've said
it's a tough one. It's a really tough one. I just want to justify that because I debated that when I wrote this down, because I'm just like, I feel that this film has so many layers. It's also so much fun. It's so tight as a narrative. If I look at 2001, it's a little bit more open-ended. It's a lot more slower in its pace. It's beautifully shot. It's really fascinating. It's not really a closed ending. It's an open ending, whereas this is a very closed narrative structure. It's the hero's journey. You feel very content after this film, but then I feel personally very content after 2001. So I'm like, oh. So then going back to the idea of what I think the audience should look at, I think they should probably watch 2001 before they watch The Matrix.
Yes.
That's what I think.
Yes.
So that's the way I'm leaning into my justification.
And I have previously just been doing it by alphabetical because I'd hate to choose my favourite child.
No, I think it's this idea. I think we're getting to. I think the idea is the Matrix, order of where people should watch it.
Yeah, whether it starts at the bottom or it starts at the top. Yeah.
Then that's the next question.
Yeah,
a ladder starts at the bottom. Yeah, maybe.
I would have to say, yes, the very first. If you were to have never seen a science fiction film before in your life.
Yeah, well, even if you have, I just think it's like...
If you were to start at 2001...
it's a real good base point.
It'd be like... And we're talking about joy watching it here, because you'd go, okay, I've never seen science fiction.
No.
What is science fiction? You watch 2001 and you get all of these ideas. Okay, now you've seen spaceships and it's docking, and you've seen artificial intelligence, and you've seen this like spinning habitat where they go jogging around in circles. You've got all of that in you. And now you can move on and see, because that has been the basis of so many. How many of these films we watched where there's been like a camera shot or a scene where someone's walked down that corridor and the camera's been at an odd angle and twisted in.
It's exactly.
And it's just
from 2001.
It's 2001.
Yeah.
So yes, I'd have to say yes. 2001 should be there. And should you watch The Matrix next before something else? I reckon The Matrix and Alien are two that you should see together. They're they've got similar visuals but different different endings, different takes on it. I think
They do, yeah.
But certainly the Matrix. Yeah, if I was going to have to sort of put this in an order like that, it would be the second one.
Awesome. Very good. So, what do you think out there about your ladder or our ladders? Let us know on our socials or follow them along and, let us know about your own ladder. That would be really interesting to see what other people are thinking out of the 50 episodes we have now.
50 episodes.
So what about science? You're going to talk zeros and ones. Did you notice that, zeros and ones are binary code on computing? You should know this, sorry, come on, I don't need to tell you. And at the end, he sees the zeros and ones, right? So meaning that he understands how the code is working. Did you notice that his apartment is 101?
I have heard that trivia before and only just now been reminded of it.
Yes, so there you go. There's a little bit of tribute. What type of science are you going to talk about? Are you talking zeros and ones or are you talking something else?
The philosophy of it is obviously the simulation theory. And this was brought forward more popularly in 2003. So it's something that's been around for a little while. But the theory goes along these lines. Let us assume humanity were to progress in the fashion we are currently, at the rate we are currently, there's some good probability that we will achieve a level of technology where we are able to create a simulation of our ancestors, i.e. our day, present day. In the future, they can simulate the universe in our present time.
Oh, okay.
And if they're simulating that may well also produce simulations. In fact, there's a movie of this, which is The 13th Floor. I don't know if you've ever seen that one. That's pretty good. It's got Vincent D'Onofrio. But it's a great film. But if you imagine then, of all of the human civilizations that are going to advance to this point, creating simulations, there's going to be a higher probability that we are in a simulation universe than in one of the non-simulation universes. So, we could be in a simulation. Is there some way of testing that? And some people put forward the idea, okay, well, we've got some of these things like dark matter. We have observed starlight coming into us, and we know it travels at the speed of light, and we know then, how far away these things are based on redshift and so forth. And then you can track back this the direction everything's going. So you plot everything going, and you track it back to the Big Bang. And in order for it to be the size it is, it needs to have expanded faster than the speed of light. And then also for the shape it's in and how far apart everything is, the mass is, we're missing a whole bunch of mass. They've termed it dark matter, but in reality, it's just the question mark. Like, when we do these calculations of how the universe has expanded and where everything is in positions and the size of galaxies and the densities and so forth, we're going, well, we're missing about 40 to 60% of all the matter in the universe. It's unaccounted for.
Yeah.
Like, the universe is acting as if it has all this other mass.
Yeah.
But it's not detectable in any way. And so one idea is, of course, well, let's say you do have a simulation simulating us here on Earth, and you're simulating as much as you can. What if there's limits to how much you can simulate?
Yeah.
And dark matter is one of those boundaries where we're kind of hitting the edge of this program, and they're like, okay, well, our computer's not really advanced enough to fill in a real universe. Or maybe we're actually simulations of the simulations, and they are trying to explain dark matter. So they've simulated a universe which is the same as theirs with dark matter, and to see if we come up with a solution for dark matter that they can learn from. How about that?
That really bakes
because we could be operating at different timescales.
Yeah.
Much like if you run up an old computer game on a brand new computer, there was a point at which computer games introduced frame limiting. So they would only do so many calculations, which meant no matter how fast a computer you had, the game would always run at the correct speed because it would wait for the number of frames to do the next sort of thing. But before that, I can't remember what date it was and which game it was. But before then, they just ran as fast as the computer would run.
Yeah.
Because computers just didn't run fast enough to worry about. And so you play one of those games in a modern computer, you can't because it's just, it's way too fast. So essentially that is the same as the game is running at a higher time
So
scale to yourself. So if you could run a simulation on a faster computer, then you could create it. Okay, well, let's find out if someone else can figure out. We'll simulate some really smart people evolving on a planet, and we'll see if they come up with an answer. And we'll just watch that pass through a few million years. No, they never came up with an answer. Well, let's change something a little bit, maybe provide a bit more information, run the simulation again. So we could all. This is a philosophical thought which goes right back, of course, to well before computers, back to the idea of Shakespeare, he mentions it. We are all actors on the stage, and life is but a dream, and so forth.
Yep.
And we go back then to the ancient Greeks, who believed that the gods, the fates themselves, basically played with people's lives like, pawns on a chessboard.
Yeah.
So they didn't say pawns; they had like whatever weirdo Greek game they had.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know whether
10-pin bowling, I suppose. But with people.
Yes.
Something along those lines.
Yeah.
So it is and I'm going to keep this relatively brief because we've covered so much of this movie and it is a brain-boiling kind of idea. But one idea put forward, and, I was scurrying around trying to find this philosopher who's talking about it. Could not get his name in time. I'll try to catch up on it.
Yeah, the simulation of the simulations is weird, but isn't it?
Simulations, yes.
Yeah, like if you said that there's these creatures that are created us to run the game, like a science experiment, I can see that.
We're the Sims.
We're the Sims, and then they're like, oh, no, it never worked out. They never solved that. Okay, start again, but put dinosaurs in there, like they just change something and then run the simulation. But then do we at some point go, oh, we could run simulations to save our future society, and then those simulations are the simulations of the simulation.
Yeah, well, that's that movie, The 13th Floor.
And then those original scientists are like, oh, look at them, they're creating their own little simulations now.
This is interesting.
Let's watch this. Oh, they're deleting that one. They didn't really let it run for very long.
But maybe we should do The 13th Floor as one of these films.
I think we should. I don't think I've watched it. I'm pretty sure I know the one, but is it Stephen King or no? Is it based on a Stephen King book? No. I think I'm thinking of another one. It's not... Yeah, because there's a John Cusack and Samuel Jackson Stephen King film that is like The 13th Floor or something. Or I might be wrong. Or is it The 53rd Room or something?
Maybe.
And he goes kind of crazy, you know what I mean? Like it's...
well, this one here is Vince D'Onofrio and someone or other. I can't remember. I always remember him because at the time that I watched it, he was in Special Victims Unit. And we'd that was a bit of tradition. We'd watch that on a Sunday evening as a bit of a wind down from the weekend because we lived a wild life in Melbourne before kids when we had money and we were happy.
So any more about the simulations of the simulations?
Oh, I was just saying that idea was put forward is what should we do if we're in a simulation?
Yeah, like how do we get out of the simulation?
Well, you can't, but you can live a good life, and you've got to think there's going to be some reason they're running the simulation. Perhaps it's entertainment or to learn something.
Yeah.
So perhaps we should be nice and grow and teach something to anyone who was observing us. So it was basically using as a justification for improving yourself and being nice to people, which oddly enough everyone agrees with, but we don't all do.
Yeah. And I mean, then you could get the religious fundamentals that are like, well, all you're saying is God, really.
Well, that's
a version of God.
That's the sort of case that then
maybe God is the simulation.
You do have a creator being then with an intelligent design, don't you?
Yeah, same idea.
Fascinating.
Or at the end of Men in Black, the snails are tossing marbles, and inside those marbles was the whole universe.
Yes. Or was it the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, where the Earth was a computer to work out the meaning of life, universe, and everything? Yes.
Yep, simulations of simulations. Very
Yes,
nice.
and anyway, it's a fascinating bit of philosophy. If you go look in the simulation, what was that book that Neo at the very start? Now you've just reminded me of this. He had a book where he kept those laser discs, the mini discs, and it said when you said simulations of simulations, the title of the book was something like simulation of something or other. I couldn't pick it up, but that was like one of those little clues as to what the Matrix was.
Yeah.
But
because it's the same, like above the oracle, it's Latin for know yourself, know thyself.
Yes.
And so there's all these little repetitions of those themes throughout the whole. As I said, on his door, it's 101.
Yeah.
The rabbit, the down the hole. There's all these little moments, isn't there, of the same things, over and over.
Yeah.
Very clever, the Wachowskis. Very clever.
Yeah, and that's what I picked up on this viewing through. Was just all of those, how carefully crafted this film was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
although I enjoyed some of those. Cloud Atlas was quite fun.
Yeah.
It was nice. Again, it's a different style of film to this one, and maybe we'll do that again. We'll do that sometime.
Yeah, sometime.
Episode 103 or something.
Yeah, and we should look. You and I were talking about the sequels: Matrix 2, Matrix 3, and I don't know which Wachowski. There's only one of them making number 4.
Yes,
they're not. It's not the Wachowski brothers, but one of them. Sorry,
sisters.
Sorry. Well, the Wachowskis. They like to be called. One of them is making the number 4 one. But yeah, it's not the Wachowskis.
Yeah,
Wachowski.
you got to wonder what the heck could number 4 be.
Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, we were talking about before, like we saw the sequels at the time and maybe weren't as sucked into the universe, whereas going back now at a later point in time, they are quite interesting.
Yeah, I saw them not long ago, and having remembered that I wasn't that impressed with them the first time, because I just come off the Matrix, the first one, which is astounding.
Yeah.
You can't really follow that up with. Could you imagine if they'd somehow come up with a number 2, which was as astounding? You'd go, "Oh my god!" It's just like they thought they were the Matrix, but they were actually in the Matrix of the Matrix. The computers were being used by humans as batteries, and in that world where they made batteries out of computers, the computers made batteries out of humans, and now we're going to come out. We're going to.
Well, there was humans that sacrificed other humans into the Matrix to run their computers, but in fact, there was computers sacrificing those humans to run their battery.
Oh my god!
Something like that.
It's just matrices all the way down.
Well, maybe that is number 4. Sorry, so everyone out there will have to wait and see. So let us know what you thought about The Matrix. What we chatted about tonight. It's definitely a film that go get your head. A bucket of popcorn and see if your head makes it through it, to be honest.
Yeah, go and get some head, a bucket of popcorn, and see if you make it through it.
That's right. Head in bucket.
Watch Neo blow Morpheus, apparently.
Yes, the things that we talk about. Next episode is number 51. And,
Freak!
Excuse
You're
me.
one of us. Sorry, what's the next film?
Yeah. That's the one. I believe it's a German. I've not seen it before. It's called Freak, You're One of Us. I believe it's German. It is available on Netflix if you've got access to that. Maybe other streamers. I'm not too sure. Go check it out before episode 51 comes out. We'll be talking about it in great detail. I know nothing about it really, except that it is German and it's on Netflix.
Well, yeah, you got to wonder if it's German and they're talking about freaks. Ooh, they could be really, really like a Hostel or Saw. I don't think so. Actually, I think I remember seeing the ad. There's no one being chopped into pieces, which is nice.
Anyway, check us out on our website. Check us out on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Basically, just look for Space Brains. You will find us on one of those channels, whatever the type of channel you like to be on. Reach out, say hi, send us a message, let us know what you thought. And that will do me, I think, for
That's
the night.
it.
My brain is schmoodled.
I'm leaving the Matrix. See ya.
Where do we get out? See ya.